Hello, welcome to the. That wasn't really a 5-4.
It wasn't, was it? It was just a one go. And
Here we are. Welcome to the Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob, but I'm not your only host.
I'm your other host.
Who are you?
I'm Adam.
You are Adam.
But so is he.
Yes.
So that might get confusing.
Chuckle Butty is what we often refer to him as.
Okay, good.
Our famous at this stage infield reporter. So hello everyone, welcome to the Sheffield Slaughter, the longest running Warhammer Fantasy event ever.
22 years.
22 years.
22 years.
I have kids older than that. No,
that's longer than you've been around, surely. You don't look a day over 18, Rob.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
We're live and in our traditional Honest Wargamer style, we are going to be bringing you all of the events that you would normally see. We have our infield reporter, Mr. Chuckabay, as aforementioned.
He's wearing a lovely turtleneck as well. He looks great.
Tactical is what
tactical
he calls it.
Turtleneck.
Because he's in his attack phase, so that's quite important. John is our button push doing all the work. Adam's our guest. So
hello.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
We'll talk about you in a minute. We have some great games of Warhammer. There's 80 competitors here playing traditional match play Age of Sigmar. Traditional.
Yeah, very traditional.
Very traditional.
Yeah.
The most traditional. If this is the longest run, this one, most traditional?
Yeah, let's say that.
Are you okay with that?
It's not true, but we can say it.
So hello everyone in the Twitch chat. Hello everyone around the world. Hello to everyone on YouTube and Facebook, wherever you're watching from. Thank you very much. We've got loads of exciting games that we are going to be bringing people. But one of the key things that we're adding to this show, because we like to innovate.
Yeah, we've got to change it up.
Like to change it up. One of the key things that we're going to be doing this year. Oh, by the way, we're in Sheffield. That's important.
We are,
highlight that we're in Sheffield. Is we're going to be covering two games. So we're going to do our traditional cover a game, like we always do. Some excellent commentary. That's why we hired Adam in. I've listened to your podcast. What podcast is it?
So Angelcast. We got a new Twitter handle as well. So at Angelcast AOS. That will give you kind of updates. We got an episode coming out on Sunday, I think.
Yes, excellent. You should give those guys a listen.
There's now pressure on Hinton to edit that.
Yeah. Hurry up, Matt. So we hired a professional to come do some talking and join us, which is exciting.
Do some talking. I think that's on my CV somewhere.
Do some
talking. Can do, yes.
Yeah, tick. What about look good? Also another skill.
I don't know, we'll leave that up to the Twitch chat.
I would not in any way encourage them to judge you. Big shout out to our Twitch chat moderators. We've got Sernise in the chat, Tristan Gray. They're going to make sure you're all behaving yourselves. Or just randomly ban you. So careful.
It's a roulette really, isn't it?
It is. Anyway, we're live and we are going to be covering all the games. But not only are we covering our normal traditional game, we also have a new thing we're adding where we've got another game happening at the same time that we'll be cutting, and we're following. We did a Twitter poll last night where we had 4 people you could vote for on who would be the person you follow through the tournament. And unsurprisingly, a bit of hashtag podcast power.
Yeah, it's always there, isn't it?
It's always
not
there.
Only in painting. But whose armies do we want to see fighting?
So what we have seen is we've seen Nikos with his Seraphon army, and we'll be covering all of his games through the weekend.
I think he could do well as well. That's a good list. I played it back at Crimbobo, and you just can't get in contact with it. It's going all over the place. I think there could be some exciting games to watch.
Yeah, there's going to be some really exciting games to watch. But what's really nice is going to be that kind of static. We've got one army constantly playing through the scenario, so we can follow that journey. Especially if someone does something big. Nikos has already talked about his combat slan.
Ooh.
He's like, my slan loves getting into fights.
See, in my experience of his slan, it doesn't like getting into a fight and it dies turn 1. But
is that to a dragon?
No, Tenebrial Shard with a Sword of Judgment. There you go. Deal with that. And he did, because it just comes back to life again.
Oh, because he's got incandescent rectrices.
And that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Don't worry about
it. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
Also, big story from this weekend, I think, probably. So, that's cool. We're doing that.
Yeah.
You'll be able to follow along with that journey as well. So, hopefully, you guys are rooting for that. And the thing you're going to be able to, the thing that's also exciting about this weekend is we've got 2 brand new Battletoads. Released last weekend.
And represented. Not just like one of each, but like how much feck is there?
Yeah, loads of flesh eating cores, quite a lot Skaven, and I think what's really interesting is not that many Gloomspite Gits.
Right, okay. I haven't quite seen the breakdown of that yet.
Yeah, we're going to get those stats to you later. That'll more than likely come into after lunch.
So the question is Gloomspite Gits a more Southern England army? Because I see it all the time.
Yeah, maybe.
It's not in Sheffield.
Is there a north-south divide?
I mean, there is, but is there one in Wargaming?
Wow. Already been decided. Okay, I'm pretty certain we're going to be able to go to one of those tables in a moment, which is exciting, but we won't do that straight off the bat.
Okay.
But Adam, I'm going to ask you first, what's it like? Are you nervous about your day? Are you excited? Are you looking forward to it?
I'm massively excited, you know. Yeah. Obviously been following Honest Wargamer for ages. Twitch is something that's on in our Wargaming flat in London most Saturday mornings, even if we're pottering along with other things. This is an event I've been to as a player way back. They've been here 22 years. I came to an 8th edition event. That's not exactly long ago in the history of Sheffield Slaughter, but yeah, it's an event I've attended in the past. It started being a time of year that I can't commit to as many tournaments, so I hadn't bought a ticket. And you were like, "Hey, come along." And I was like, "Yeah, good." I'm there.
Excellent. Yeah, because we talked when we were in London doing the Magic Madhouse.
Yeah.
We did talk about the fact that one of the things that we're going to do on this game is develop a pool of commentators.
Yeah.
We need some excellent commentary coverage. So
We're going to provide.
Yeah, you are going to provide. I'm really excited. Let's see who's here in the chat. That's the question.
We got Tristan Gray. We got a positive victim. Darren Watson's in the chat there. I'm going to be getting some stick, almost certainly. Also Donal, so that's a concern. And we're talking about dragons already.
My question is, Adam, is how does a dragon blow out a candle? There we go.
I have a decent answer to that.
Terrible answer.
Dragon breath destroys the candle, so it is out because it no longer exists.
That's true. That's true. There you go. That's your.
There you go. You heard it here.
So I think we've done the new Battle Tomes are out.
Yeah.
They're in attendance. Are they going to win the event? What do you think? And Twitch chat, what do you think?
They could.
No?
They could.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think they could. I think personally, Skaven can win. I think Fleshing Courts can do really well. I just don't think that they necessarily I think they play the scenarios well and they do the fighting well, but if you can block them up, or if you've got a one drop, if you come up against a one drop that's got great ball control, I think you're going to be able to shut them down. The dragons move fast, but if you don't give them anywhere to move to, that's key. But that ability to pile in twice, therefore effectively like eat a chaff screen, punch through to another chaff screen.
That's huge. I mean, that's what you want.
Yeah, I think that could be really impactful realistically.
Yeah.
But Skaven, I think, is a little bit more nuanced, but I think its power level is just insane. It's exciting because we've got Skaven as our first game.
And with the Skaven that we're seeing, I think we're likely to be seeing the Mortal Wound output, the Scryer stuff, but I think the rebalancing of it is going to give you more multifaceted lists as opposed to the one-dimensional stuff. Like last time I played here I had a game against Scryer, and it's like, here's 1,000,000 Mortal Wounds, your army's dead, and I was like, cool. But if you hadn't been able to physically get there, which if I was a better player they wouldn't have been, they were never going to win that event, but they're going to take some opponents off. Whereas perhaps now that tome is allowing people to fill in those little gaps in strategy with this game.
Yes, I think it's a very powerful book, and I'm really excited to see it. We've got JJ, he's going to be playing. He's already had 6 practice games leading up to this event this week. So he's going to be playing. That's going to be one of the games that we see. Versus Stormcast, which is what Skaven I think are designed to do. Take Stormcast apart.
You don't care that it's a 2-up re-rolling ones.
Not when you're doing that many more wins.
Yeah, cool. He's dead. I don't mind.
Yeah, and then Nikos is up against Beasts of Chaos and loads of Bulgors. So those are the games you're going to see. But, and this is even though Honest Wargamer is breaking traditions and molds by covering more than one game. We do have a man that's able to cover all of the other games at the same time.
We do indeed.
Some people say he's half man, other people say he's half legend.
He's all of both.
Yeah. His Weight Watchers group describes him as the best looking man in Warhammer. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, it depends how many of us are in that Weight Watchers group.
Surely. But a man who needs no introduction, but we'll give him one anyway. A man with a tactical turtleneck, and one of my personal favourite people is Mr. Adam Chucklebutty, and he's going to tell you what's happening in the rest of the tournament right now.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, guys. Well, welcome to Sheffield Slaughter. It's already, everybody's having an amazing time. We've just had a little whip round the tables. We've got some really exciting matchups going on. We've got a few mirror matches. We've got everybody's favourite Alan Witherden versus Andy Lewis, Legions of Nagash. mirror match, Legions of Nagash. You've got grave sites all over the place, and they can both use the same grave sites. Doesn't, you know, they can share those, so that's a bit lovely. But you've got two Nagash stood just glaring at each other. What would be amazing is if one hand of dusts the other one off the board. That would just be a start. Also, I'm kind of in the back room. So we've got this room here. As you can see behind me, you've got quite a few people in here. You've also got another 10 tables in another room out back. They're kind of the lower tables. So, you know, today we'll focus on them. Tomorrow they'll all be probably very hungover and kind of slow. But looking down at the kind of earlier tables, then we've got a really nice matchup in Tony Moore with his Flesh Eater Courts versus Tom Bell with his Iron Jaws. It's massively stacked against Tom, but he's managed to get turn one, so hopefully he can kind of get a bit of an early charge and crowd some points. But Tony is a exceptionally good player, and with Flesh Eater Courts, it's unlikely that that's going to go in Tom's favour. But looking at table 38, we've got Christian Moore with his Legion of Sacrament. He last couple of tournaments, he's just been cleaning up with Hand of Dust, and he's got a little tally going of what he's after. He's got his eye on Joe Purcell's Stormcast Eternals. Now Joe has seen the light. He's dropped Skaven. I mean, partly because they've made his warp fire throwers completely illegal now, so he's had to kind of go to something a bit better. But Stormcast Eternals are the kind of the smart man's choice anyway. Really, let's be honest. So that's looking great already. That's a fun looking matchup. Joe and Christian seem to get on really well, so that's great. Table 29, we've got a Khorne Dragon in the house. Gaz Hughes has bought his Khorne Dragon, and it looks stunning. It looks incredible, and it's taken up half the board. He's up against Ideneth Deepkin, and Gaz has already admitted if that dragon goes down, game's done. He's just going to go straight to the bar. So that's it could be a very short game for them. We've also got Tom Fretwell on table 26. We've got Tom Fretwell with his Sylvaneth. He's staying strong with his Sylvaneth. They're not the strongest at the moment. He's but the darling of Warhammer, Tom Fretwell, is brought his Sylvaneth, and he's going up against the master, apparently alleged master of Age of Sigmar, Dan Bradshaw, with his Beast of Chaos. On table 18, Andy Hughes, Legion of Sacrament versus Wayne Kemp's Skaven. That could be quite an interesting matchup. Andy is really confident with his list, but Wayne Kemp's got the new hotness. So we've also got, so just behind me here, we've got Pirate Pete with his Flesh Eater Courts versus James Thompson with the Sylvaneth. One of two Sylvaneth players. So we've got James Thompson and also Tom Fretwell. They're the only Sylvaneth players here, so that's interesting. Some people we've got Alex from Scribes of War. He's got a mixed order list, which is basically, it's not quite mixed filth as it used to be, but he's just brought a really nice, a really fun list. He's got some Stormcast in there. He's got Drycher in there. He's got a really nice mixed order list. And table 5, we've got a grudge match. We've got Miles Hewitt from Scribes of War, and he's got his Skaven versus Nick Thompson from WS10. There's a rivalry that's existed forever there. You've got the country bumpkins of Scribes versus the city dwellers of WS10. That's a Skaven mirror match. Now they're both really good players, and they both practiced as much as they can. Nick has had to tweak his list a little bit because the list he was running, he was so head down painting. He kind of lost sight of his list a little bit, and he actually had built an illegal list. But and then finally, we've got table 11, Adam Sinclair with his Stormcast Eternals. Once again, a hero. Name's Adam. Stormcast. He's obviously a good guy. He's up against Johnny Statham. Johnny helps run Bobo, which is another event we've covered and we will be covering in the summer. Johnny's got his filth. He's got Skaven. Hopefully the Stormcast Eternals will just pick them all off and leave them for dead. But I'm going to cut back to the table now. We've got table 1 with JJ. He's up against whoever. Rob will show you. They'll take you through. Rob and Adam, back to you guys.
What a wonderful man. Thank you very much there. And as you can see, we're playing in the realm of doom and gloom. Welcome back to the Sheffield Slaughter. This is the Honest Wargamer, and this is the very first matchup of 2 that we're going to show you, which is really exciting. But while we go and make sure we can see everything that we need to see on that table and bring it up, you've got the commentator team of Rob and Adam, and we're going to see in a moment. Yeah, this is a slow reveal.
I'm enjoying it. I feel like it's building. I'm getting more and more excited. I don't quite know what's going to happen, but when it does, it's going to be glorious.
So this is our story table. That's what we're on. We are seeing Nikos at the bottom deploying with his. It says Lizardmen. It's meant to say Seraphon, but Nikos, if you've been following along with the Honest Wargamer, he's one of our 40k show hosts. He heard about AOS 2 and he refused to move on with it. But let's, Adam, this is what's really interesting. Do you want to take us through his list?
Yeah, for sure. So Nick's obviously running Seraphon rather than Lizardmen, although I'm liking the callback to 8th there. His general's a Slan Starmaster. He's got his vast intellect command trait in there, and with the artifact he's actually gone for incandescent rectresses. Obviously, of course, if you're running Seraphon, you're going to want to get an Engine of the Gods in there. That ability to bring extra units onto the table is super powerful, particularly late game when you might have taken some casualties already. That Engine of the Gods is just going to keep you one step ahead of your opponent, not to mention the ability to teleport around the battlefield.
Engine of the Gods?
Yeah, indeed.
Oh, I'm so excited about the Engine of the Gods. Summoning?
Yeah, it's
summoning,
huge.
But it's not, because when I played Nikos in a fat rep we did on the show the other day, that young, gorgeous man rolled an 18, which meant he got to double his movement and double his shooting in an entire turn, which when you are, as you can see in the list in a minute, rocking 12 Razordons?
A large quantity of Razordons.
12 Razordons, 4 below the max.
Yeah.
3/4 of the max.
Yeah, 3/4 of the max is a lot.
He's almost pushed it to the max.
Yeah, I almost wish he had.
I wish he had to.
After the Engine of the Gods, we're looking at a Saurus Astrolith Bearer. He's just making everything a lot better within a bubble there. He's giving you bonuses for casting. You're the Seraphon, man. You are.
The Astrolith Banner Bearer,
yeah. So you got pluses to casting.
Pluses to casting. You can summon from him as well, but most importantly and key, realistically, for those Razordons is the reroll shoot. Is the reroll within, wholly within now, which is really important.
That's why you're looking at the 3 units of 4 rather than bigger units, or is 4 the maximum on the War Scroll?
4's the maximum. Yeah, 4's the maximum. But you can only take 4 units of 4 because they're technically, well, they are cute. They're artillery pieces.
Right.
You can only normally include 4. Never has been really much of an issue in Age of Sigmar. Sometimes you see 4 Celestar Ballisters.
Quite often now.
But I think with the Warp Lightning cannons, you're going to start to see more
pushing it to the limit.
Yeah, pushing it to the artillery, to the limit.
Walking right along that razor's edge.
Excellent.
We've then got the ubiquitous Skink Starbeast in there as well. He's helping out. He's got extra cast in there. He's got negative debuffs to the opponent as well. That's right.
Really, really solid. But the Chameleon Skinks are an old War Scroll, which are a little bit abusive.
Yeah.
And I know you're a fan of these.
They're not old. Well, they are old. They have age.
As soon as someone tells you that there's a resin model that is allowed in an event, you're on it.
Yeah. I'm like, get me that.
Like pickle on cheese in a sandwich.
Yeah.
You're all about it. So, and what's really key about those guys is they can deploy into combat.
Yeah.
Devastating.
Amazing. And taking them in units of 5 is quite interesting there. So I would personally be taking a unit of 10 of them in a mixed order style list, where you go, oh, you know that objective where you need majority models and you've left 5 guys in the background? Cool. Here's 10 for free. Good luck. But we got 3 units of 5 of them there, so that obviously works really well with what Nikos is doing. You're able to pin that. If you're throwing 120 points in, you're able to pin down that fighty horrible monster and go, actually, you're just going to fight this today.
Yeah.
And if you whiff and you don't kill them, they're just going to go away again, and you haven't even got the points there.
What's super impactful is deploying them against like a character, let's say like a wizard, and then we might see this over the weekend, which is quite exciting for an army for the weekend, where you stop them. Effectively, they're not going to kill the unit because there's only 5 of them in the unit, and then that means that they can't move in their movement phase, which means they may be out of range of stuff.
Spells aren't getting where they need to. You're not sneaking that Lawmaster onto a home objective if he's short. If you're surrounded and you don't fly, you're not retreating from that combat. you get locked in.
Yeah, it's really key. It's really key, and they're devastating. They also can deploy into combat and score objectives as well, which things don't expect. And they do quite a bit of decent shooting. And then I think there are
7 units of
10 skinks.
Yeah.
Which are with the ability to summon more skinks, the ability to create chaff screens all day long.
Yeah.
And effectively, what he's doing is he's just creating barrier after barrier after barrier, wave of skinks, if you will, and then the Razordons sit behind it, and then they just run and go.
And the real kind of longevity of that, of course, coming from the Skink's innate ability as part of a combat activation to just retreat. So if I'm coming in and I've not got something like Quicksilver Potion, that's meaning, or I don't have a command trait that's allowing me to attack with 2 units, I'm going to kill this 60-point unit with my 500-point Star Drake, and they go, cool, well the other unit's going to run away to 3 inches away, so you're still blocked off, but you've effectively, you're forcing them to kill 60 points of your army for 5 turns.
Yep, and I'm going to summon another unit as well.
Just in case.
Just in case.
So it's really, it reminds me, sitting in this room, of the sort of list people running at the end of 8th edition with Dark Elves, where it's just like, you can't touch this. Whilst that's happening, also here's a dinosaur with a laser, and here's all of this nonsense going on, and you just go, oh. You're playing a different game.
So you're saying he's MC hammering his opponents?
He is. He's MCUing, which isn't the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is it? It's a variation on MSU.
So that's Nikos's army that we'll run through. We'll run through it again. We will run through it again. But we're going to quickly talk about Adrian's army, who's against, because we're only probably going to see Adrian for this singular game. And Adrian is running Beasts of Chaos, and he's running a Doom Bolt, and then he has 1 unit of 6 Bulgors, and then he has 6 units of 3 Bulgors, and then he has 3 Gorgons. So he has 3 Gorgons. Which is So what do you think of that?
I love it. I think Beast of Chaos is massively something where you've got a lot of variety in what your builds can be. I think Monstrous Infantry is something that's going to be hugely coming back in. I think it's something that's going to be exciting for people, and also something you don't necessarily know how to deal with. Who runs Gutbusters? So it's not something people have experienced again. You've suddenly got these smasher units coming in. They've got the wounds, they've got the movement, and they've got the damage output. I think it's strong.
It's really strong. It's really strong and exciting to see. And Adrian's a babe, realistically, so I'm excited to see him play. He's going to get to choose who goes first in this game, which is pretty incredible.
We're going to talk about it in a minute, so I don't know if you want the information I've just heard, but something pretty major's happened on the other table that we're covering.
All right, well, so let's go to the main table.
Yeah.
This is table 1. Let's go watch Skaven versus Stormcast. Let's go to it now. There you go. There's the table.
And what's happened? So we've got Tom and JJ playing, as we said before. I believe that JJ has taken that first turn, and with his first spell, has rolled a 13 and killed his Grey Seer.
So did JJ get to decide to go first? Was that the key part? So JJ got to go first, which is massive. But it does mean that you've been able to put on so what happens? Do you know what happens with this?
Well, 13 is the magic number of Skaven. It has been since the early 90s when Andy Chambers first brought them in. So I haven't read it, but it makes sense to me. You roll the 13, and that's going to be an old school kind of.
So what happens is, and there's like a 9.8% chance of this happening. What you do is with your Grey Seer, you can roll 3d6 to cast a spell, which is massive.
Yeah.
Now, what he's done in his army list, he's got 100 points for the pylons.
Right.
So this is the Skaven Endless spell. It's cast at 25 inches, but it's cast on at 8, so quite hard to cast.
Yeah.
Yeah. The warp holes that you guys can see, which are that's way too big. Let's reduce that down. The pylons, also known by its official name, the Warp Lightning Vortex. So these warp holes give you +1 to cast. And with +1 to cast, rolling on 3d6,
you're more likely than not to be getting that 8.
Yeah, which is cool. The danger is if you roll a 13. Now what's key, not 13 or more, but a 13 specifically.
Yep.
The spell
which is the magic number of the Horned Rat himself.
The spell automatically goes off, but your Grey Seer dies.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened. That's amazing. That's really cool, right?
And in the Grey Seer there, is he on a screaming bell, or was he?
Yes, more than likely. There's a bunch of stuff. The table is a tad dark, thanks everyone. We're going to get it brightened up. We are actually working in...
It is still night time in Yorkshire.
Yeah, for our international viewers, some people may not know, but we're in what's called a working man's spot.
Yes.
Which is an English thing. I don't really know how to describe it.
It's not like the village people at all.
If you get the opportunity, go onto YouTube and type in Phoenix Nights. If you watch that, that will make the most sense. But
don't tell them that; they won't come back.
Our tech guy John will get that table brightened up for you. I'm telling him specifically by telling you guys.
I mean, they are on a stage. There's got to be some theatrical lighting.
No, it's fine. It's not the lighting. It's the buttons inside. So we'll get that sorted. There you go. Already sorted.
It's a bit light already. The time's moving quickly with the shadows moving around
that's
there.
Good.
The sun's gone there.
However, the lightning spell has gone off, and we've seen it get deployed here, and here. Now, what is massive about what that does is the kind of the pylons, if you will.
Yeah.
They have to be 7 inches apart, so they form an equilateral triangle. Every unit, as soon as they're cast, within 6 inches on a 4+
of one of the three.
Of one of them takes D3 mortal wounds with +1 if you're within range of either of the two. So down to a 2+. Takes D3 mortal wounds. Happens as soon as
so if you can stick them around a big monster, it's pretty likely to be happening.
Exactly, so they're there, okay, pretty impactful. Then it happens again in the movement phase straight after, and every movement phase after that.
Okay.
Yeah. Now what's really key
at the top of the movement phase.
Yeah. Well, what's really key here again is what we haven't talked about. No, end of the movement phase.
End of the movement phase. Okay, so you can get out of the way of it, but if you're putting it somewhere near an objective, you don't want to. So you've got to trade off. You're forcing your opponent to make decisions.
And what's also really, really impactful is if you are affected by it, you half your movement, you can't fly, and you can't run.
Wow, so that's like somebody gave a lot of amphetamines to Shackles.
Yeah, it's way good. Now JJ also failed. He's also got inside of his list. He's also got Geminis, and he's also got Shackles. So he's also got another ability that makes people -1 to hit.
Yeah,
and he's also
and -1 attack potentially.
And -1 attack.
Well, or -1 attack. You can't put them both on one unit now.
Yeah. And now in the movement phase, the pylons are now ticking again.
Yeah.
So it does happen at the start. So yeah, they're ticking again, and there's a giant hole. And we've seen some units die, and we'll find out from the tabletop what units have died there. So that's all happened here. So we've had 2 Evocators die.
Yeah.
2 Liberators die, and a Sequitur die.
I feel really good about that. I don't want to be particularly partisan taking sides there, but Stormcast need to be killed by horrible mortal wound damage out.
I couldn't agree with you more. You've also seen at the bottom of the screen you have Tom with his Stormcast.
Yeah.
So that is what he's against. So quickly to finish off what's in JJ's list, he's got a Verminal Warpshire on the far right hand side.
Yeah.
He's got a 4-up save, a 5-up ignore, another 5-up ignore because of a trait, because of an artifact. And then his command trait is every time the Stormcast try to get a command point on a 6+, he steals it.
Yes.
Yeah. But his 4+ save is also rerollable because he's carrying an orb of mighty power.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I could see it there for a moment, but it's actually one of your trademarked objective markers.
Yeah, the soul system.
But it's right next to him, and it looks like his orb. Yeah, I think the Vermin Lords are strong, right? You've got a lot of choices as to which one you're going to take. I know the Corruptor went up from 220 to 260 points, but it's just still so good. So good. So what you're seeing now is something else that this army is really good at, which is JJ's got to be super pumped about this matchup. And hopefully you guys can see the telestrator there. You've seen some shooting, and you've seen a Fulminator die already. Now Fulminator against me at the first Bobo.
Yes, yeah, they are. Me?
Yeah.
I'm not walking out in the cannon, it's not me.
No, the Dracoth things.
Oh yeah, the Dracolites.
Yeah, the other side.
They get shooting. They are excellent because they've got 3-up save base. they get +1 to save against shooting. So,
okay, so you're on 2s, they're multiple wound
then
models.
they reroll 1s.
They're fast across the table, they're giving you mortal wounds. They're a scary threat.
Yeah.
But what's happened?
Well, the mortal wound shooting from the warp lightning cannons is doing its work. So you've already lost 2 Dracovs there, which is it's just awful. It's absolutely awful. So the rest of Tom's list is 2 Stellar Star Ballisters, there's 20 Secretors, there's 5 Evocators, there's over on the right hand side there is a unit of Liberators. There was over here another unit of Liberators, and there is a Knight Incanter. Now the Knight Incanter is an amazing pick, and I think you're going to see that more in Stormcast armies in the future.
I think you're going to see it increasingly across the board in Order. It's certainly a big pick for Stormcast though.
Yeah, do you want to explain why?
Yeah, so the Knight Incantor is one of the few units within the game that just has a free unbind. Also, you've basically got a kind of suicide bomb type situation where when people are coming into it and you think you're going to lose the model, it just goes, here's a ton of mortal wounds on everything that's near me. So going back to our example of Nikos with his chameleon skinks coming in against a wizard, you just go, cool, you've died. And I'm more likely to survive this than you, little skink man, so I'm going to continue over here. And the ability, obviously, with Stormcast to be bringing board control stuff in, like Comet, whilst you're deploying from the sky and stuff, I think makes the Incantor a good utility piece.
Yeah, it's super fantastic. And key in this situation, because as you can see, the Warp Storm over on the left-hand side, so the Endless Spell, had JJ rolled anything than a 13, anything, then the Incantor could just say, nope, I have an auto unbind.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter what you rolled. No spell for you. But because he rolled a 13, he literally has, and this hasn't happened in this hasn't happened in Age of Sigmar since Warhammer Fantasy Battle days.
Yeah, and that's really interesting.
Irresistibly cast it effectively.
So this is something that me and Matt have been talking about a lot recently with regards to writing the pack for Angel Corps, is thinking about having, first of all, sort of Perils of the Warp style table where you've rolled a double 1, the spell's not going off, but also your wizard's potentially going to have to then roll on the chart. That was super fun. And sending Demon Princes into just being dead rather than casting stuff at the end of 8th edition was always hilarious. But also the irresistible cast, I think kind of makes sense because you essentially already have it, apart from models like the Spellweaver, models like the Knight Incantor that are able to just shut you down for free once a game. And it's an ability, right? So if I want to take 3 Knight Incantors against Nagash turn 1, I can go, right, Portal's not going off, Hand of Dust isn't going off, your game, the entirety of your list design is closed down with, what, 280 points worth of mine, and your 800 point wizard is restricted for a fifth of the game. So bringing stuff in where you're able to actually pull that in both directions, saying more armies should have automatic unbinds, but some armies are also going to have stuff that overrides that, I think adds a bit more of that granularity to Magic, so you don't just have someone like me show up against Nagash and going, cool, you've got +4 to cast, I'll just wait till this phase is over. It adds a bit more interactivity and a bit more of tactical placement in terms of unbinds and range and things, I think.
That sounds super interesting. It sounds like it could be a fun event. But in this situation, if you guys are listening, none of that's available. So what you are getting is an auto unbind that's not been able to affect that spell, and then now moving into the Stormcast turn, the very first thing that Stormcast have tried to do is, because the auto unbind only works on a spell that's being cast.
Sure.
Right? So in this situation, 8, meaning he needs a 9 to unbind it.
Yeah.
And with a 9 to unbind it, that's super hard on just a 2d6 roll.
Yeah, it's very unlikely actually.
And there's very few, almost none in my experience, well, not none, but there's very few pluses to dispel.
Yeah, you're looking at your Archmage on Dragon, you're paying a premium for that.
Arcan.
Nagash, Arcan.
Again, premium.
Yeah. Very, very expensive models that can't be in multiple places.
No, and therefore that spell, into Tom's first turn, and I do feel for him, his first turn he's lost a ton of models, and now yeah, so he's lost a ton of models. He's lost a unit of fulminators, but no retorts. This isn't.
They're in units of 2 in Tom's list.
Yeah, units of 2. So he lost a unit for no retort at all. Like he's just like, and he's got to face running into the centre and dealing with that again.
Yeah.
And then he's not unbound that spell in the bottom left hand corner.
Yeah, which means rather than casting Comet bringing down, considering where they are in relation to Tom's left flank objective in total commitment here, he's got to consider whether the Incanter's using that spell slot to get rid of the pylons, or whether he's going to be throwing his own spells towards the opponent.
And now we finally get to talk about the key part of the story, which is the mission,
yeah,
the battle plan. So you're right. So we're playing in the Realm of Fire. The magic available is Fireball. The command is Firestar, which is you pick a terrain feature on a 4+.
Yeah.
It explodes, and then it becomes line of sight blocking. Which I tell you what, I volunteer this as tribute.
I agree.
Yeah, that would be that. Yeah, I volunteer that because then that would make that line of sight blocking, which is cool. So that's the Realmscape feature, as you can see on the top left-hand side, and then and then
because the warp lightning cannons don't have particularly
ability,
high movement, do they? So
no.
If you're able to get midfield stuff blocking line of sight, you're not going to be losing 2 fulminators a turn.
No. No, so that would be really good. So that's a command ability they could do, and then you obviously could and then you've got the Realmscape feature, which is every step a league, which is any 10 pluses to charge on a you take D3 more wins.
And also if you roll a 6+ on your run roll.
Yeah, D3 more wins.
So that's really going to be hammering people on other tables who might have stuff like Bestigor who are running and charging. If you're suddenly having a 6 on your run and then you're looking to charge, people with Feculent, Nullmore, Trees, you're going to go, I'm going to come right across the board at you, and actually that unit could be potentially taking 2d3 mortal wounds before it even gets into contact. So potentially game changing, but I think that on balance people tend to risk deadly, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And then finally, the actual scenario is total commitment. So as you can see, because of the soul system, great work there, Nikos, the inventor playing on table 1, you have those objective markers there, badly drawn by me. I'm terrible with that. I need to upgrade there. And what you do is you hold those objectives, just like most in Age of Sigmar, with the number of models.
Yeah. And
there are loads and loads of models.
There are a lot of Skaven.
Yeah, there's 20 clan rats here, there's 20 clan rats here. There are also plague monks on the board, but and I think this is really important. This warp hole has been left unattended, and if JJ gets the opportunity, he's going to be able to teleport a unit into there.
Right.
So we'll come back to that game in a minute and see what happens. We'll also go and see if we can stop the. We have a train thundering past table 1, which is causing our vibration. So I see if we can monitor and fix that. But before we do that, we're going to go to the man who needs no introduction. But I think you want to give him one anyway.
Yeah, it is the one and only Adam Chucklebutty.
There you go, Mr. Chucklebutty. Over to you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. So we've already got some great stories going on. Just over my left shoulder here, you got Pete. You got Pete versus James, and so this is the Flesh Eater Court. Pirate Pete with the Flesh Eater Courts versus James Thompson with his Sylvaneth. Remember, one of 2 Sylvaneth players here. So the Ghoul King of Terrorgeist, turn 1, 8 Durthu, straight away just bang, 19 wounds, down goes Durthu. The second goes, so the second turn, second round of combat, he then eats Drycho, which is another big Sylvaneth character. So just those 2 just gone. So Pete's really proving these Flesh Eater Courts, the new hotness, 1 week old, don't forget. Last week they came out. We have got some people here that have had them for maybe a little longer than others, and I'll bring you some news on how they're getting on a little bit later on. But so Pete's had it for a week, had the book for a week, and it's absolutely insane. Table 5, we've got Miles. This is Miles versus Nick. We've got Scribes of War, the kind of probably best club in the country. I think that has been proven now. Versus WS10 Nick. This is a Skaven mirror match. Now the warp lightning cannons, they're ridiculously overpowered. They're incredible. Obviously, when you've got a mirror match, it's kind of who can fire it first. Now in this instance, Nick fired it first, firing straight at Miles's warp lightning cannon. Did 12 mortal wounds, bang, right, there you go, there's your cannon gone. So it's potentially a really swingy game, and Miles just tried to retaliate with his other warp lightning cannon, and just completely whiffed and did no damage whatsoever, which is devastating for him. Moving on to page 2, then we've got Andy Hughes. This is table 18. Andy Hughes versus Wayne Kemp. Legion of Sacrament. Andy Hughes versus Wayne Kemp Skaven. Wayne is less experienced than Andy Hughes. Andy Hughes is a really, really good tactically. So that's a really interesting match, because I think what Andy's army potentially lacks in terms of new hotness, Wayne kind of makes up for with that. But so Andy is potentially the better tactical player, but he has a weaker army, whereas Wayne has potentially a much stronger army, but is tactically less great. So that's looking like a really balanced game. So and what Andy did is he won turn 1 priority, gave it away straight away to Wayne, and then turn 2 Wayne's won the priority. So there's not going to be a double turn unless Andy wins it next time. But he did say if you give away priority, then you're never going to get double turns. So table 26, Tom Fretwell, the darling with his Sylvaneth, versus the master, apparently, Dan Bradshaw with his Beast of Chaos. Dan is already getting gamey as hell. Dan is picking up on every little rule, every little thing. Tom made one little mistake and Dan just raged about it. He called the TOs over. He's getting really, really gamey. He's got massively, way too big for his boots. And Tom, he might not necessarily be winning the game, but he's winning everybody's heart. He's a wonderful, wonderful human being. He is facing the master, so he's got an uphill battle there. But you know, Dan being really, it's changed him. He used to be a really lovely guy, and now he came in actually on a gold palanquin. He was carried in by a load of teenage boys. It was very, very strange when he came in. There was a fanfare, and it was very weird. Gaz Hughes with his Corn Dragon. I don't think you need to know anything else other than that in his list. Corn Dragon versus Paul's Ideneth. Gaz moving that thing around on the table, and if you've ever seen the Corn Dragon, it is the biggest model I've ever seen. It's absolutely enormous. It's a beautiful model, and it's taken up half the board, and it could basically its board coverage just in the size of its base. He said he poured a whole load of blood for the blood god. He used about 4 bottles of it just to cover the base. So that kind of gives you an indication of how big that is. And he's like a child with an oversized toy moving it around the table. It's hilarious to watch, and it's really unwieldy. But you've got Paul who's charged in with only 3 eels straight into the dragon. The eels are ignoring Ren, so that's something. But in theory, that dragon should just munch through them. Alan versus Andy. This is the Legions of Nagash mirror match. You got Nagash versus Nagash staring at each other. They've done turn 1. Neither one of them really moved much. They just bolstered where they are, blocked everything off. Nothing really happened. They're just both cagey as you like, so not a lot going on there. Table 28, Tony Moore, Flesh Eater Courts versus Tom Bell's Iron Jaws. Now, we all know Iron Jaws are looking like, you know, they're really in need of a new battle tome. So once that comes, Tom might have an easier game. At the moment, he's got 2 more crushes in a corner, in Tony Moore's back right corner. But it's Tony's stood there. He's just stroking his face, looking like a bit of a comedic villain, just biding his time. He knows what he's got waiting to come on, and he's really, really confident. Tom is a lovely man and a great player, and I wish him all the best. Joe versus Joe with Stormcast Eternals, the wonderful Joe Purcell, with probably, I think we can all agree, the best army here, Stormcast Eternals, versus Christian Moore with his Legion of Sacrament. Christian's still out to take names with Hand of Dust, but he's also got 90 Grimgas Reapers. They're all over the board, and mainly in the middle though. Given that the objectives are kind of in the 4 corners, he's got all his kind of big bads right in the middle, which is a bit strange. But Joe is casual as you like. He's got his shoes off. He's got his bare feet out. He's just chilling. He's having a great time. And there's loads more kind of stories cropping up, and I'll be bringing you those. Right now, I'm going to cut back to, if we can get the commentators back on a table, we're going to cut back to Rob and Adam to bring you table 1 and also Nikos's game.
Thank you very much, Chucklebutter, you gorgeous, wonderful man. Hello, welcome back to the Sheffield Slaughter 2019. This is table 1 of round 1 in the realm of fire, and you're seeing Skaven versus the Stormcast Eternals. JJ versus Tom.
Fantastic stuff, and we're going into the second battle round relatively soon. We had that priority roll, yeah?
Yeah, we have. But just to recap what happened in turn 1, Skaven had the option to go first, they took it, and then a pretty devastating first turn. They fired off the pillars that you can see cast here on a Grey Seer, which meant it was unbindable.
Irresistible?
You could say it had force that was so irresistible.
You might do.
You could do. So yeah, that's what we saw happen there. That meant that it did a hero phase and a movement phase worth of damage, killing some Sequitors, some Liberators, some characters, but most importantly, killing the Grey Seer.
Yeah.
I got to say, I know this is the first week for Skaven being out, but people
How
are gonna,
amazing is that?
Amazing, but people are going to cheer for every Grey Seer dead in the future, in my opinion.
Absolutely, but most of those people will be Skaven players. Yeah. Like if you're going, I'm going to bring this stuff, and the big change for me in the new Skaven Battle Tome is they do the stuff slightly more reliably than they used to, but you're also slightly more reliably going to kill yourself. And my first army ever in this hobby, about 1995, was Skaven, and that's what they should be doing. You're rolling big dice, and you're going to go, take that thing off, but I'll also take this off. I want to see that happening on table. Big risk, big reward, that's the style of play people want.
Which is exactly what happened. So you ended up like, so then it was not possible. It was not possible for it to be unbound in Tom's first term as well. But
even with the Knight Encounter.
Even with the Knight Encounter, because his auto-unbinding worked. Then you saw Warp Lightning Cannons kill 2 Fulminators, and now moving into we're moving into the priority roll. Priority roll was won by Skaven.
Yep.
Skaven have taken the turn.
Okay.
They've cast Mystic Shield on the over here into this unit of rats. So
is that the Plague Monks there, the 40?
In the top right. We've seen Geminids be cast
over
here. So now there is a unit that is -1 to hit. It's taking D3 mortal wounds. So it's surrounded by the Pylon and the Geminids. Imagine if we also throw Shackles in there.
I mean, they're just going to be completely landlocked, surely. And the problem Tom's going to have there is you're going to want to move away from that area, and then you're surrendering your objective.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's gone quite light in his defence of the right-hand objective, and obviously you've got the Plague Monks moving down here, and then you've still got the ability for Skaven to pop out of the warp hole here. So it's looking really solid for JJ, who's got the first go, so the first turn of battle round 2.
Indeed, and I think that's a fantastic place for us to be in the game, right? When the Grey Seer can go down, but the amount of damage and board coverage output he's already put, you're like, yeah, all right, my big lord dude on a bell structure on top of a tower that's being pulled around by blokes. I can afford to kill that myself before you've had a turn. Because here's 100 rats.
Yeah, honestly, I'm super impressed by it. And also, he's still got the Vermin Lord over here. He can do D6 mortal wounds at some point.
Yeah.
There's a lone Fulminator here now. Yeah. Sadly terrified of just everything, I think.
And he'll do fine. And if he's surviving, he's making damage. But for me, as JJ, that's not going to be a target priority anymore. 4 of them, big nightmare. 2 units of 2. 1 of them left. Okay. You need the bodies to score objectives. There's one lone dude wandering about. Yeah, I'm gonna be taking out the Liberators.
Couldn't agree with you more. Tom's also got these 2 Salazar Ballisters, but I just don't think, and this is what's really interesting about the Skaven army, it's got these elite, powerful units.
Yes.
The Vermin Lord here, the Warp Lightning Cannons, and of course the Hellpit Abomination, which looks like it's on the move, which no one wants that.
There's certainly a channel for it to be able to get there, which previously there wasn't. So the intention's clear for us.
Agreed. But then it's also got the chaff. It's also got the Ratmen, the cheap infantry. It's a really solid army.
And you talk about chaff, but their ability to basically ignore battle shock makes them a very effective chaff as well.
Yes. So that's pretty important. And now into the movement phase, is the vortex is ticking again. So we've seen it into turn 2. This is Stormcast turn 2.
He's now had 3 opportunities to be pumping mortal wounds.
it was cast, it goes off. Movement phase, it goes off.
Yeah.
The movement phase for your opponent, it goes off again. Your turn again for JJ4.
Sure, yeah.
If Tom doesn't unbind it, it's going to have gone off 5 times, which is on a 4+, D3 mortal wound. 6s is D6.
6s is D6.
6s is D6, but if you're within...
It's like having a free magma dragon sitting there. It really is.
It really is. So it's just horrific. Like it's crazy. But while we leave this game for a moment, we're going to go and find out what's happening in our fun game. In our fun game, there you go. So we popped over. Oh my God, the realm of fire. There's a hellfire pit opened up on the left-hand side. What do you think of that? So here you see Nick versus Adrian. So Adrian's got his war herds. Nick. AD got to choose to go first. AD went first.
Yep.
He then decided to run up with his Bulgur here, and he ran up with his Bulgur over here too.
Yeah.
And then he also took his not his sidewalls, his Gorgons.
Gorgons, yeah.
Gorgons. That's not something I've had to say for ages while coverage for quite a while. I won't lie. There's also one Gorgon currently hidden off the table.
They are very stealthy.
Yeah, that giant cow monster, hide it.
Just lie it down in a corner.
Yeah, cover it in bushes.
What? No, it's fine. Put it in your bag.
So then, and then what you've seen, so he just ran up. He was like, cool, I'm just going to run up to this line. In Nikos's first turn, the engine went off.
Yeah.
And then it did 6 mortal wounds to the Doom Ball.
Ow.
That Doom Ball now is also dead because it died to the shooting from both the Razordons here, the Razordons here, and the Razordons here. Over here, AD's all combat army, all combat, no shooting.
I know how that goes against Seraphon.
Versus Nikos's all chat, no combat. Apart from the combat slan over there.
Combat slan is the sentence of the day so far for me.
Yeah, they're quite blocked up, and they're not going to be able to charge in. And then what happened is Nikos won the priority roll for turn 2. So then that's how we lost the Doom Ball over here.
Yeah.
We lost some more. Nikos didn't win the priority roll. Sorry.
Adrian won the priority roll. Okay.
Sorry. So that's what we're seeing here, and then we've seen. There you go, the Gorgon go down, and he's threatening the charge. That's what he's doing.
He is, and you run an army like that, you're going to roll those.
Pardon me?
I think you're going to run an army like that, you're going to take Bulgurs, you're going to take Gorgons in there. You want to be like, you're going to have to deal with this in a minute. And the psychological threat of just appearing somewhere and going, I've got a 9-inch charge, I'm going to make it. Your opponent goes, you could make that. Statistics, averages say you won't. But if you do, that's a problem here.
This is my favourite. Like, I love the 9-inch charge. I wish that there were no other bonuses to charge in the game.
Yeah.
Like, I wish also the reroll was out, because the risk reward mechanic of it is much bigger in that situation.
Sure, yeah.
Which I quite enjoy. But and there aren't any. The only ability to reroll here would come from
command point.
Okay.
We don't have cogs anywhere in either of these lists, so you're looking at command points.
But I think what's unfortunately going to happen, by the way, in the first turn as well, we also saw the skinks teleport into this top right-hand corner here, and then go and secure this objective.
Camo skinks, so they've just gone straight up.
No, not camo skinks, just regular skinks.
With the Seraphon Allegiance ability.
Yeah, the camo skinks are currently off the board, not engaged in the game.
They're just a little bit extra for later on, if they need it. They're in the little lizard spaceship.
Yeah. So we'll come back to that game. We'll go back to table 1. We'll come back to that game. But that's currently how Nikos is doing. Looks like it's going well for him. I feel like that's going well.
I think it is. I mean, Nikos has a lot of experience with this list. It's almost identical to what he was running back in Crimbobo, and that's my first interaction with it. I'm sure it's something he's been playing with for longer than that. I mean, some of those skinks are older than I am as models. We've already noticed in the chat we got some square movement trays going on there, which is triggering a few, but I think
that's what happens when you get an Age of Sigmar first ager on the stream.
Yeah.
I think he also is refusing to do little to any summoning effectively, but
which I like.
I think that's also a bold move. So over onto table 1, or back to table 1, we've actually ended turn 2 for Skaven. Skaven in the first 2 turns have lost 300 points.
Yeah.
Those 300 points, they lost themselves.
That's right. They just blew themselves right out of the water.
Because, I don't know if you noticed, Adam, but over here, there is a warp lightning cannon that's missing because it supercharged itself. And it killed this Fulminator, but then it died. So far, in every turn, JJ has lost a unit himself.
Yeah.
But has traded for basically devastated Tom's army.
So as we were saying before, with the bodies that you've got with the Skaven, you're looking at objective play, and we were saying this right at the very top of the show, Skaven could do quite well here, because if you're trading, that's kind of okay. Because if all that's left is your 5 Liberators and my 40 Clan Rats, or here Plague Monks, the Plague Monks are scoring the objective.
Yeah.
So if it's a point-for-point trade, running Skaven against something that's got low model count, doesn't have the board coverage, doesn't have the ability to redeploy in the way that you can with the Norholes, Skaven are going to be super strong. I think it's potentially quite frightening for you to go, oh no, I've killed another of my Behemoths, I've killed something that's 300 points, but if you accept that, do you know, looking at this, if I'm going to play against 4 Fulminators, I'm happy for one of my 2 Warp Lightning Cannons to be dead top of them 2, if those Fulminators are nowhere near me.
Yeah, I agree. It is very, very frightening, because Skaven have Thunderbolts and Lightning.
Very, very frightening.
and that is why I like this army is going to be. Honestly, JJ. By the way, JJ, we saw his first tournament at Crimbobo.
No way.
Yeah, Adam was doing one of those things where he was following the story as we were going.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was really interesting. Where that then lifted up is since then he's done nothing but practice. He's been writing stuff down. He's been following the workbook. He's then turned up. He's turned up for this tournament with 6 practice games under his belt with Skaven
in a week,
which is amazing. And then he's like, "I'm here to play." And you're like,
"Good man."
Okay, all right, and like giving a showing, because he now is up 4 points. He hasn't gone and secured either of Tom's 2 objectives here, but he
doesn't need to yet.
It's not long, because what's really interesting is if we can get from our on-table reporter, he might be able to get us exactly how much damage the Skaven Pylon spell has done.
Yeah.
In just itself, 100 points. How much damage it's done? What do you think? A lot?
I think it's done a lot. It's already taken out those Liberators. We're looking at splashing Mortal Wound. We're going to have to remember with Stormcast, of course, is they're multi-wound models more often than not. So any additional Mortal Wound pumped in is going to really, really be helping out. You want to take models out, and the only way of doing that is chip away. They've got high armor value. They're also relatively slow moving once they're already down. The problem that Tom's going to be facing here, again, we're talking about the scenario, total commitment. Stormcast aren't taking advantage of being able to jump in from the sky. As a foot-slogging army, this is a nightmare. That's why you see Fulminators coming into the list, but those Liberators, other foot units that he's got, they're going to have to now come across the table and contest. JJ knows he's happy to sit there on those 2 objectives, shooting him off. All he needs to do turn 5 is have tabled Tom with shooting and move 1 Skaven model onto 1 objective and score 3 that round, and that's it.
Yeah, he can play the attrition game really well. Also, and don't forget, the thing that we can't ignore also is while the D3 Mortal Wounds is impactful, very impactful. We've seen 4 Liberators die. We've seen 4 Sequitors die, and we've seen 3 Evocators die.
And I want to see Evocators die.
Yeah, agreed. But that means that they're also not running, so they're not getting up the board any faster.
Yeah.
That's really, really big. Their minuses to hit, which is also quite impactful.
Yeah.
To a degree. But then because of the scenario, because obviously it's total commitment, meaning none of these units can start off the board.
Yep.
Yeah.
They are totally committed.
They are totally committed to the tabletop, which means that they are foot-slogging Stormcast, which is what Stormcast don't want to do.
Then it's not what they want to do at all. And you look at Evocators and you look at Mortal Wound outfit, and there are discussions about rules like that coming in where you're channeling those attacks through a single point. Yeah, that's great if you're coming down close by, you've got your bonuses to charge. But if the Skaven are sitting behind 100 rats and doing the same thing, you've brought a knife to a gunfight.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just really tough.
So
But now we've got some fire return. So into the shooting phase for Stormcast, and we are seeing the ballistas shooting into the Warp Lightning Cannon. The Warp Lightning Cannon's only taken a wound so far.
7 wounds?
It's 8 wounds now.
8 wounds now, okay.
Which is, I like that the War Machines are getting their day in the sun. War Machines have had a tough time since Age of Sigmar came out. Normally, because you could just be like, well, I'll just kill the crew. But now the crew have been consolidated into it.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the Stormcast turn. Yeah.
And that Warp Lightning Cannon is still there.
That is the end. So yeah, 2 points for Stormcast will be scored there, which means going into the priority roll. What do you reckon? Do you reckon Tom can come back if he wins the priority roll?
Honestly,
yeah,
it's a dice game. You can always come back, but I don't see it.
I don't see it either. Especially as JJ won the priority roll and has taken it.
Yeah, I mean, in that scenario, it becomes very difficult.
I mean, it's way harder to do.
Yeah, if you're losing approximately a fifth of your army every turn, and then you don't have a turn, that's not good.
But I think we have seen the pylons finally unbound. I think that happened in the Stormcast turn, pretty much, which is good. So they're gone. So they only got 5 ticks of damage.
As an endless spell, can we then see the Warp Seer bringing that back in somewhere else?
Any of the other casters can cast it and still put it back on the board.
Yeah. So has that possibly, I can check that in a moment with the next to the table reporter, but potentially that's been removed by JJ in order to put it in a more opportune place?
Potentially.
It's done the damage where it needs to.
Yeah, I think he secured that right-hand flank in a big way. So there is a Screaming Bell in the top left-hand corner. That has a chart that you roll 2d6 on, and then whatever it hits. So it's peeled. In the last round, it did mortal wounds to everything within 26 inches.
Okay.
Yeah, more mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Excited about that?
I'm very excited about that.
And it killed a Sequitur in this situation.
I'm even more excited about that.
Adam, do you hate Sequiturs?
I just...
Give me your tree. Give me your top 3 units. Twitch chat also, if you don't mind. Give me your top 3 units you just hate.
Evocators, Iskalian Guards.
Okay.
The fighty eels.
Fighty eels.
And with that, everything in the Deepkin Allegiance abilities.
Okay, good. Right.
Which is what makes them good. Other hated unit. I'll have to get back to you. I'll think about that for a few minutes. Okay. What would you say?
For me, hated units would be the Rune Lord, Dwarven Warriors,
yes, Duardin, surely,
and then also the Unforged. Specifically those 3.
Yeah, because Dispossessed is something you see a lot and are definitely pushing those top tables, so I can see why you have such
contempt,
such a grudge against them there. I think my other one probably is anything that has a 3-up save that takes Ethereal Amulet, and the big culprit there being the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon.
The Velos.
Yeah. Which pains me to say, because also he's a big cool dragon.
So, with it being ethereal, are they now the Evlos? Is that what we're calling them now?
Which is very close to Evelyn, so if no one's converting up that from Master of the Universe, then they're missing a trick there. Actually, I now want to do Neferata as Evil Lyn.
Yeah.
In a Evlos list.
The Twitch chat.
Elves, moist elves.
Majingo Child says, asks if there are only 3 people armies. We'll get back to you on that. And then he says, evocators, mounted evocators in the gash. Elves, not. Does that say not who's there? Good. Elves, most elves, and kinky elves. And then Longshot Loxley agrees with me that the Unforged is a dick. Colonel Cabbage hates Necromancers. And Wargaming Dad.
Hey, Necromancers is a strong shout for a hated unit. I would definitely be agreeing with you there, Colonel Cabbage. That ability to basically not take any damage ever, despite just being a single wizard with 5 wounds, bumping that off wherever you want is super, super strong. Particularly with what he adds to the skeleton unit.
Agreed. So we have seen Geminids, because, and this is where it gets really exciting, Geminids were cast here. Because JJ won the turn, Tom was able to move them, so they haven't impacted his army this turn. But in the hero phase, for Skaven, there's a young man who may make people's top list for I don't like this model, or because of his rules, Mr. Gabriel Shawhart himself.
Yeah, I thought we were going to come on to him. Sure charge,
the sure charge build. However, an arcane bolt has just smoten his final wound.
No.
Yeah, right between the eyes. So he is going back for another reforging.
There's a certain poetic justice to that, and you hope that leaves a mark when he comes back as a reminder not to mess with the children of the Horned Rat.
Yeah, that's a reforging, that is.
Yeah.
That's what that is. So again, JJ reducing the movement of Tom's army. So yeah, he can move, yeah, he can charge. Now he doesn't get +3 to charge. So he's just like slowly attritioning down.
Yeah.
He's held him up for, I mean, he has won every prior roll, which has been brilliant. He's held him up for every turn so far, which has just been really
And as we were saying before, if Tom was able to get that battle round priority, and if he was able to get across the board, then you can bring the fight to them. But that loss of sure charge is massive.
Yeah, I would say, so let's look at what Tom's got the option to do, which is very little, because what he has to do is go and take out all of these Plague Monks.
Yeah.
Also the Warpseer.
There he is.
Yeah, who is got an amazing spell, but he also can do D6 mortal wounds, which is going to do okay for dealing with those liberators.
Yep.
So that's tough. He could. I just don't think he hasn't got enough to hold any objectives. He could try and put all of his shooting over into the right-hand side there.
Well, that's assuming he has true line of sight to it. Those terrain pieces.
Yeah, he doesn't have line of sight from that baluster. So he isn't going to be able to, and then he is where he is, so he's just not going very far. Now he also could potentially lose these units down here to the charge from the Help It.
What do we have there? Is that the remaining Sequitors?
Yes, but the Help It only rolled a mighty 2 on its 2d6 movement.
Oh.
So it moved there. So JJ not exactly getting to get the charge off.
Yeah. So we're looking at a similar thing that I've been experiencing against Gloomspite recently, where you're either getting an 18-inch movement or 2.
Yeah. Do you want to know how far that Help It Abomination has moved in 3 turns?
Is it 6?
It's 5 inches.
No!
Because he didn't move him the first turn.
Yeah.
And then he has in total moved 5 inches. So whatever they built him out of, they built him out of some slow stuff.
To be fair to, if we're telling the narrative of the Grey Seer blowing himself up, you're looking at that nice green glowing objective near him. To the Help It, that's a nice big chunk of Warpstone to gobble down. Yeah. The General's dead, he's blown himself up. He's not interested in going after those shiny guys over there.
That's
the winds of magic seem to be dealing with that. We're in Akshi, there's a bit of a haze swirling through. He's just happy where he is.
Yes, but apparently he's also, JJ is using Skaven dice, so maybe they are as
they roll 13s, right? And one component of that is a 1.
So there is someone using squig dice on one of the other tables, but he's actually already lost 80% of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have rolled them.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah. He's lost. Oh, yeah.
Tim has a set of them down at Magic Madhouse, and we rolled them in practice because we said that we were going to force the Cunning Ruck players to use squig dice. This was quickly abandoned in favour of dice rolling apps. With the extreme carnage and raining molten rubber that was happening.
The Warp Lightning Cannon, by the way, is down to 1 wound now.
It only needs 1.
Having 2 wounds, having killed another Baluster.
That one that we were saying doesn't have the line of sight there over to the Warpseer. Doesn't matter anyway.
Because he's dead.
He's dead.
Also, Baluster versus Warp Lightning Cannon. The Warp Lightning Cannon is always doing better.
Yes.
He's just doing better. Which is, and then the Plague Monks have made their charge into the Liberators on the right-hand side. Now, Twitch chat, if anyone thinks that there's a way that Tom can pull this back, let me know. As I don't know, a professional. I'm going to call it as a professional.
Yep.
Sports Warhammer commentator, a T-Sports professional, if you will.
Indeed.
I don't feel there's a way he can. But don't worry, we've got another game we can look at.
Yeah, I mean, we did say previously that it is a dice game, and the problem is that the dice haven't gone the right way. Not only do I think that JJ's list, yes, he's had the practice in with it. People don't know what it does yet, but it's also a really, really good scenario for the Skaven here.
Really, and it's
Especially
also
doubled down by it being a bad scenario for Stormcast.
it's a bad scenario for Stormcast. And then also, I think Skaven want to fight Stormcast all the time. Which, if you ever go on the honestwargaming.com and look at our stats, which are updated weekly thanks to the wonderful Mr. LLB, you'll see that Stormcast represent about 11% of the armies that you're going to face.
It's actually higher than I would credit. I very rarely face them. I played them once at Grim Bobo, and I think the previous time I played them was you at the first Bobo.
Yeah, so that's quite a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 11% with the most popular faction, or the most populous faction, being Death. When we do get we'll get the overall faction breakdown for you later here.
Yeah, I'd be interested if there's a meta shift, because Death, obviously, what we're meaning is Grand Host of Nagash, because that's what tends to be what's being run. But here we've got a lot of Feck.
Yeah, well, and when we come back to doing our stat show on Tuesday on this Wargamer, this will be included in our worldwide stats.
Yeah,
but I do think the sheer volume of Flesh Eater Corps that we're seeing here just shows the ease of use to put them together, build them, place them on the army.
And they're also an army that was one of the earlier battle tomes in AOS, the beginning. Yeah, the beginning.
Yeah.
And so
pre-first age.
People have them, and people who have been running other Death stuff, it's easy enough to take a Vampire Lord off and put your Ghoul King on. You've probably got that in there. People have run this army effectively in the first couple of years.
Did you just say effectively?
I did.
Wow, brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely. If I had a hat on, I'd tip it to you.
Indeed.
Congratulations.
So
you've made me chortle with a pun.
So we've got an army that people own that's one of the kind of poster children, if you want, of the original Age of Sigmar. Games Workshop have gone back and said, right, they are dead Bretonnians. Isn't that hilarious? Everybody's gone, yeah, and I already own that army and it looks better now.
Can I just say mean?
Mean, but also hilarious.
Okay, we'll double down. I agree. Right, back to the game.
I have a Bretonnian army that I can't use.
Same
for context.
Same, brother.
But I can use it because they have war scrolls and they have points.
Well, can't you use the men at arms? Can't you literally just use them as Flesh Eater Corps?
Yeah.
Couldn't you just put men at arms down as ghouls?
Yeah, so this is what Ming was asking in our chat recently, and I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't really know what I'd think playing against that. But looking at the keywords, looking at what's actually in the book, because it was in terms of like preview stuff, yeah.
Would you be okay with me using a Star Drake as the Ghoul King on, as the
if it was you
dragon?
And it was me,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I've just got myself a brand new army.
As long as it's on the right base,
Alan.
which it's not.
Damn it. Right, so the Plague Monks, I don't know if you know what Plague Monks do in combat, but the answer is melt.
Yeah.
That's what they do. So they have 2 attacks each.
Yeah.
If they've got knives, they're re-rolling. On the charge, they get an extra attack. That's 3 attacks each. Hit on 4s, re-rolling, wound on 4s, 6s to hit. Yeah?
Yeah.
Mean that you also generate the potential to do a mortal wound.
And is that's unmodified, or
that's unmodified?
Right.
So it's just a dense volume of attacks. And there was now look 5 liberators. I respect Stormcast. They landed from the heavens. They're like,
yeah,
we're gonna hold this objective, yeah. And if we don't, we're going back to get reforged.
We're going to staunchly defend it.
We're going to staunchly defend it, but they haven't staunchly defended it. They've been smoten. Literally scratched to death by Master Splinter himself as well. Each one an assassin in his own right.
Nunchucks hidden in every sleeve.
And also, we talked about the fact with the launch of the Skaven Battletome, we've had the potential, if fighting against Ironeth Deepkin, to finally have turtles versus rats.
Oh my god.
It's a game we've always wanted.
And what's the maximum number of behemoths you can take? 4. So any Deepkin, self-respecting Deepkin player that doesn't have the
4
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
in a hard shell.
I'm disappointed.
Exactly. Because rats. Okay, so we're getting told off by our man on the ground for affecting the Teenage Mutant lore and narrative universe. He's like, why would they fight Splinter? They're not. They're on the same side.
Because the world that was has been destroyed, and just like the Sigmar's pantheon being ripped asunder, and Nagash now being the Lord of Death, not part of that pantheon, we got to see what's going to happen to Splinter over those 10,000 years.
That's right.
With the Turtles acting out in the way we do.
Yeah, we're announcing Teenage Mutant Turtles.
Can you imagine
2.0.
the Deliveroo bill these days? All of that pizza, and they don't seem to have jobs. So Splinter's covering that. It's a nightmare.
Agreed. So going to our very own April O'Neil, that's right, Mr. Chuckle Butty himself, and we're going to find out what's happening on the rest of the tournament right now.
Thanks, April O'Neil. It's not the first time I've been called that. It's, you know, we've talked about Flesh Eater Courts, right? I think they've been talking about him. We've been talking about him for all week and the weeks leading up to the book release. Flesh Eater Courts, they are bringing the pain. Pete Humpage, this game was live and well earlier. It's not anymore because Pete Humpage with one. I was saying he's Ghoul King on Terrorgeist. He was doing quite well, right? He'd munched through Durthu, he'd done 19 points of damage to him, then moved on to Dreicher, munched through her. But that game is done, and the Ghoul King on Terrorgeist has done 1,920 points of kill points on his own. Now I can see Adam Kunis sat the other side of the desk, just pulling her face and thinking, can I afford to buy? How many can I fit in one? How can I? Yeah, he already knows. He's fitting 4 in his list. So, it's not the only time they're cleaning up. You've got Steve Curtis, we all love Steve Curtis. He's got his Flesh Eater Courts. He's going up against Martin Clark, who's got his Magic and Nurgle. Again, Ghoul King on Terrorgeist killed Rotigus and Vermin Lord Corruptor in one turn of combat. And that was Martin's turn. So Martin with the Nurgle got beaten in his own turn and just munching through. And again, that looks like it's going Steve's way so easily. This Flesh Eater Courts book is absolutely insane. Table 3, it looks like it's kind of all finished over there, but table 3 is John Green. Now, John Green, if you've probably heard the name before, we've had him on the show a few weeks ago. He runs Bobo along with Johnny Statham, and he has got Stormcast Eternals. He's going up against Scott with his Mixed Destruction, as he calls them, the Fireclaw Raiders. And John, he's got Stormcast Eternals. He deployed 4, bearing in mind this is total commitment, so you have to deploy everything on the board at once. He deployed 4 Celestar Ballistas. Now these are the War Machines, the big crossbows, basically. They're nice and cheap, really, really good unit. But shooting, right, needs a line of sight. The one thing you wouldn't do with shooting is put them behind a massive line of sight blocking terrain, because that would be a really dumb idea. Well, John Green deployed them right behind a Citadel Wood. And he knew this, he knew that it blocks line of sight, but he seemed to temporarily forgot it. So he deployed 4 ballistas behind a Citadel Wood and completely hamstrung himself. So he got a bit screwed on that. But right in the middle of the game, right in the middle of the board, he charged with 5 Liberators, with some Evocators backing them up, charged a unit of 3 Ogres. The Ogres turned around and just minced through the Liberators. They just vanished. But the Evocators just click their fingers and off go the Ogres, as well as a Butcher, which is a character from Scott's army there. But moving on to Miles versus Nick, it seems to be swinging Nick's way. Still, that one it's not impossible that the Miles can pull that back. It's still fairly close. Turning the page, Tom Fretwell, darling Tom Sylvaneth versus Dan's Beast of Chaos. Dan is still being really, really gamey. I did actually see he's pulling out the rules and he's showing Tom these Realmscape rules, and all of these things he's just making up, basically, just to make it work for him. And anything that goes wrong, anything that's going against him, Dan's just saying, "I'm the master." It's a bit disgusting to see. Well, I would like to grab an interview, but his security keeps stopping me, so I can't really talk to him. Moving on to the Legions of Nagash mirror match. This is Alan Witherden. He didn't deploy all that great, as per Alan, versus Andy Lewis. All that's really happening, they've kind of met in the middle with a whole bunch of skeletons each, and they're very much mirrored. The Nagashes are opposite each other. And it's just a massive unit of skeletons versus a massive unit of skeletons, and it's just whichever dies first, basically their opponent wins the game from them, because they'll just swarm the objective, and in theory just game will be done. So, but they're just both completely matching what each other's doing. They've got a very, very similar pair of lists. So It's a really strange one to watch. Table 29, Gaz uses with his enormous Corn Dragon versus Paul's Idoneth Deepkin. Gaz has basically lost because it's a really hard one to control the objectives and push up the board with his dragon taking up 1,200 points of his army. But it's making some dents. It's making some waves. It's been killing stuff left, right, and centre, whilst not taking objectives. And Gaz is he has lost the game already, but he's just munching his way through turtles, through eels, through anything, any kind of seafood he can get his hands on. This dragon is just chowing down and spouting them out the other end. You got Tony Moore versus Tom Bell. Tom is stoically got his iron jaws. Tom is also a fellow Scribes player, so he's got his iron jaws. He's been basically pasted by Tony. Tony's kind of lifting a finger and just deleting units. He's deliberately, Tony said this from the start, he's deliberately deleting the weakest units and moving up. He's got 1 Gore Grunter and 2 Maw Crushers left to go. Maw Crushers are apparently romping around the board, but they've just stayed in one corner all match, so I'm not really entirely sure what's going on there. Finally then, we've got Joe versus Christian. Joe with the Stormcast Eternals versus Christian with the Legion of Sacrament. There's a huge amount of dead Grimghast Reapers, but they're due to come back. Christian is just waiting to land Curse of Years on a great big Star Drake that's right in the middle of the board, causing lots of issues for him. The second that goes off, Joe's already said, second that Curse of Years goes off, I'm off. I'm buzzing out. I'm off to the bar. So, and I could absolutely believe that. Now it sounds like there's a huge amount hotting up already on table 1. So I'm going to hand back to Rob and Adam and leave you with them.
Thanks very much, Adam. What an absolute babe. I love hearing about all those extra games, especially mirror matches. They always make me. They're just the best.
They're fun to play.
They're the most fun. So if you just joined us, thank you. Welcome back. This is the Sheffield Slaughter 2019. We're in round 1, and the game you're watching is table 1. Well, it's the first round, so it's
the table.
It's the table, and we've seen Skaven. Their battle came out a week ago, and they are versus Stormcast. They've won every priority roll: turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3. And a little bit of a spoiler going into turn 4, they've won it too. Again. Now, some impactful things that we saw happen in the very first round was we saw the Grey Seer kill itself and cast the pylons.
Yeah.
Then they were up for 2 turns.
They went off 4 times.
Yeah, 5.
5 in the end.
5 times. We saw Geminid, so that was all happening around here in that bottom right-hand corner. We then saw 2 Warp Lightning Cannons who are now thankfully dead.
But they did their job. They've got their points.
They killed 4 Fulminators.
My God.
500 points.
And
a Sunstar Ballista. Yeah, there. And did the Stormcast kill them? Not really. They killed themselves due to mortal wounds.
Yeah. And that's what they're there for.
Absolutely.
It's part of the strategy.
And then we saw, and now there's one left of what I imagine when Tom put in his list, he thought were some competent units. There is now 3 Sequitors, 1 Liberator, and 1 Evocator left. So there were
that's not quite as bad as your Fire Slayers all being exactly the same moulded model, but for me, I thought that was 6 Sequitors, and I was like, oh, he's all right there. He's not.
No, they are slowly now walking up the board. You also have an Igniting Canter here, and you also have a Celestin there, but they are pretty much on their own. This back objective has been left open, and then there was a unit of 5 Liberators here. In the last turn, Skaven charged and wiped them out. So Skaven now control 3 objectives, with the only objective being contestable by them is in this top right hand side. But they have to fight a Grey Seer, they have to fight a
Hell Pit Abomination.
What happened to Mutilus Vortex Beast? Because I learned that word.
Yeah, they're just not really a thing anymore. He stopped talking immediately. He's on you there. So we've got, as you can see, rats being moved up all over the place onto that objective. The Plague Monks are definitely coming in on that flank, making sure that's objective secured. But I just don't see what the Lord Celestin's going to be doing coming across. The redeploy is difficult, but ultimately, JJ doesn't need to take that 4th objective. The 3 there, if he can hold on to them. At this point, even if he holds on to 2 of them, on the right-hand side of the screen as you look at it, he's up on points. The Stormcast, I think, have got too much work to do.
Over here on the left-hand side, we saw Warp Gale and Arcane Bolt go off first, then Warp Gale go off, doing 6 mortal wounds into that unit. So the hero phase, we've only said, I've never said mortal wounds so many times, but yeah, it killed the ballista that was here. Yeah.
Oh, so they're both now gone, aren't they? They've been dug out.
I've never said that mortal wound so much. It's just been everywhere. Stormcast have got a pretty competent save, and they've just lost models time after time.
But that's the huge thing, isn't it? You know, there are armies that go into Stormcast that are going to really, really struggle to get them off the board, but those mortal wounds just do not care. That's where Skaven were last time I was here, and Scryer were portaling in with their engine coven, doing all the damage. This, to me, looks so much stronger under the new book. The fact that it's no longer a one-trick pony where you're blowing yourself up. You're playing to blow yourself up because you've still got 100 rats to deal with everything else. And as we've just seen on the right flank there, as we're looking at the screen, those Plague Monks don't need Warp Lightning Cannons to blend stuff.
No, they don't. They don't. You know, but yeah, they are a very class cannon, the Plague Monks, but they're really good. The Warp Stick is also a really cool choice because command ability allows any units within 26 inches, wholly within 26 inches, to be immune to battle shot. So that's super useful on Plague Monks or rats generally.
It's a good thing to sit in the middle of your army when you're Skaven.
Agreed. On the left-hand side, the Hellpit Abomination has gone in to those remaining Stormcast.
Looks like it's moved more than 5 inches now.
Finally, the charge phase is what's finally got it there. I got to say, I feel like that's a wrap-up, but we will come back to this game to see what's happening. We're going to go now to, I think, just Nikos' table. I think that's what we should call it.
The Table of Nikos.
The Table of Sir Nikos, inventor of the Soul System.
There he is.
There he is. Wonderful man. So he's been
leaning in, double fists on the table.
Yeah,
like,
leaning in.
You know, alpha male gorilla, silverback there.
Well, he growls every time he moves his Seraphon.
Scary.
Yeah, he does. He tries to do the Velociraptor.
But it comes out more guttural and more
frightening. Can you do that?
What, exactly that?
Yeah, well, no, can you do the Velociraptor scream?
That's what you're doing.
What are you doing?
That's a bit more like a Murloc, isn't it?
Well, yes. Anyway, AD got to go first, move forward his Bulgor and his Gorgons into the centre. He also, and then he lost a lot to the shooting of the Razordons, and he was just held up by chaff screens of Skinks. We saw a unit of Skinks over here go and grab that back objective, as you can see. And then we saw a Doomball here hide, but he's now facing a line of Chameleon Skinks in the top left-hand corner who is shooting in and doing some murder. On the left-hand side, he's lost some Skinks, but he won the priority roll. Adrian won the priority roll for turn 2. He hit some more skink lines. We did see the Gorgon here pop up and potentially try a charge. Didn't make the charge. We're now into Nikos' turn 2. Nikos now is just running away with points because he has skinks in the top right who are basically unchallengeable unless AD decides to run backwards to try and contest that. And then I think Nikos has got the left-hand side. What do you think?
I think he has. I think that Doomball there, he's got the 2 wounds left. He's likely to die. The Skinks, as we said previously, those 7 units that we had at the beginning, plus the ability to summon more Skinks in, that ability to retreat out of combat when he already has more units than AD that are less valuable, he's winning that war of attrition. You can kill 60 points of Skinks, 120 points of Skinks a turn, but whilst Nikos is still sitting on those objectives, Adrian's not achieving what he needs to be doing.
Not at all. Not even close.
Not even close.
Not even close. Like, AD knows that. AD's a real nice man. I know him quite well. So he doesn't really turn up to these events looking for big victories. What he likes to do is take his Beast of Chaos
and smash stuff
and beat people's faces in. And I don't think he minds most of his stuff dying as long as he's like, I'm pretty certain these 4 Razordons have been emotionally marked for death.
For sure, by me more than you got to kill the Razordons.
Do you know about their Overwatch capacity?
I do.
So So if you aren't aware, what happens is when you get within 3 inches of a unit of Razordons, on a 4+, they just get to make a full shooting attack.
It's crazy good.
Which is 8d6 shots.
Yeah.
But if we cut back to table 1, Adam.
Yeah.
Just very quickly, because I've got some big news to tell you. There was, I'm sure, there we go. Over on the left-hand side, yes, the Stormcast have got 2 characters, well, 2 models left. Yeah?
Yeah.
The Helmet Abomination who charged, how many wounds do you think he's got left?
3.
1. 2 of them. 2 Stormcast took the Helmet Abomination down to a single wound remaining.
There's another model being removed there.
There is. So 1 Stormcast down versus the Helmet.
He can do it, but you're going to have to choose to activate that first.
That was Battle Shock, by the way.
Yeah. We noticed that down on the right-hand side where the Plague Monks are taking control of the Norhull, they're actually tagging that as well. Now, I'd have to check whether it was within or wholly within. I imagine it's wholly within 6 for them to be able to use that.
So the Sequitur, 1 Sequitur, did 6 damage on his own.
There you go.
And the Evocator, on his own, who just ran away to Battle Shock, he did... Sorry, the Sequitur ran away.
Yeah.
Because I think he'd done a good job. He must have been
He's like,
tired.
I'm finished.
Yeah, he's like, 6 damage. Look, that is all you're getting from me.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Reforging is tiring.
Yeah. And then the Evocator, who's the one who's left, he did 5 damage. So between 2 models, 11 damage. That's awesome.
That's so strong. But it also completely kind of makes more sense of, I mean, we already knew that JJ is going to be wanting throwing those mortal wounds in there, but his target selection there is perfect. If you've got 3 Evocators coming in, he's losing that objective on that flank. So he's got to be putting that damage into the Evocators and the Sectors as early as we saw it. We see that JJ's up here, but had he not managed to do that, had he not got the 13, had the Incantor been able to unbind it, we're looking at a very, very narrow version of what could have been in this game. Because those 2 units coming forward are going to clear that left flank. At which point, I think that JJ would still be taking that right-hand flank. At which point, we're just rotating the map through 90 degrees, and they're holding 1 home and 1 away each. At which point, it's going to take something else to tick it over into something that isn't an even game, and looking at a minor win at the end.
Yeah. So So you think that the 13 was like super impactful?
Massively impactful. Though that, as you said, that 5 rounds. Turn rounds of mortal wound output into those units where 2 models have almost taken down this huge monster, which, as we've been hearing this week, has been buffed as well. If that hadn't happened, and any other roll of the dice, okay, the Grey Seer's not dead, but the Incantor is stopping the spell.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a choice that Tom then has to make. But
I think it's a choice you do make.
Yeah.
And also, in the hero phase of the Stormcast, this is in turn 4. We have seen an Arcane Bolt, the old classic 1 mortal wound.
There it is.
Free up
Gosh.
the 1 Evocator.
Let me just roll that onto you.
Excuse me, I'm 1 Evocator, and I am going to go win the game.
This is my house.
This is, how the mighty shall fall. He now only has to beat 20 Clan Rats and a Doom Bell.
And that's assuming that the Plague Monks on the bottom right aren't able to then leave that objective, consolidate, and portal into the Norhull.
That's assuming that. I mean, so the Warpseer here, Feminal Warpseer, he's got to fight a couple of Stormcast characters, but I just don't think it matters because JJ's going to, because he owns bottom right, and top left objectives, and if he wins the priority roll going into turn 5, he just holds it based on points. I think Tom can't even maths-wise come back.
I don't think that he can.
But he can try.
He can certainly try. I think it's that. Let's look at the Plague Monks. Let's assume that somehow they run away. They're not going to, but the top right-hand corner is secured. JJ's had more time than is left scoring the majority, and at that point it should be pretty clear cut.
That's what I really like about AOS as well, is the fact that it's that hard limit on the 5 turns.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, this is what you get. So like, and also you should write your strategies and your plans with that in mind.
Yes.
Which is why you tend to see super aggro first turns, Age of Sigmar.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know exactly. That's you, Adam. You built a whole army that just has 3 dragons at your opponent, and you're like, here I am.
What are you going to do about that?
And what's really interesting about the Skaven list, specifically JJ's in this example, is I think super aggro first turns are the way to deal with the Skaven. They do have great chaff. Yeah. They do have great chaff, but if you've got the capacity to take out some of those key pieces, or just reduce the capacity of some of those key pieces, it really puts them into some, especially, look, the Warp Lightning Cannons killed 500 points 600 points on their own.
And how much do they come in each?
180, I'm pretty certain. Yeah,
that's certainly the old cost.
Yeah. But yeah, like, so that's good.
It's not good. It's great.
Yeah, and they didn't die to the enemy. They died to themselves.
It's a ticking bomb.
Yeah, it's a ticking bomb, but it's a powerful bomb in the right situation.
Sure.
Yeah, I think ethereal characters are really
so interesting. I think this Skaven list, apart from the pylons, is going to have a more difficult list against something like Nikos, because the Warp Lightning Cannon again. Oh, you've killed 10 skinks. Okay. And you've killed yourself. That's fine.
I mean, what he doesn't want to face off is he doesn't want the Razordons to fall.
Yeah.
So in that matchup.
But with the teleporting, the redeploying ability, so we're looking at scenario total commitment. This massively favours Nikos and favours Seraphon versus somebody like Stormcast Eternals. It's the sort of scenario that massively favours Sylvaneth, because you go, oh, we're deploying everything on the table. Cool. I'm over here though now.
Yeah, I think a Skaven Sylvaneth matchup would be super interesting.
Inherent redeploy is king of this scenario.
Yes, absolutely, I agree with you. As you can see over here, look, I know most of us don't like evocators. Right?
They're nice models.
They're great models, but if you don't use them, they kick us right in the pants.
Yes.
Right? But there's one, and you do have to. He started over here. He watched dozens of his friends murdered to lightning and thunderbolts. And then a monster who is a stitched up bunch of rats with an engine inside of it. It's a gross monster.
It's rats in a bag. Scary bag. Yeah, he's just got right over there, hasn't he? And even without Gabriel Shawheart getting him there quickly, he's like, no, I'm committed, totally committed. This is where I'm going. I've got a stick. I'm going to hit you with it.
Exactly.
And he could kill those rats.
Maybe he could. He could at least make them.
Maybe not in time, but by the end of the game,
he could make them suffer battle shot. I wonder if JJ's sat on any command points, because then obviously the Greyseer on top of that Doombell there is going to be able to make them
just
move,
keep them there, and he just needs 2 models.
But then you have seen a fight going off over here.
Yeah.
Where you've got some characters have gone into the Verminal Warps here, and he's not that decent in a fight. He's okay. I would put him, like, if you compare him to Dragon Lords, no. If you compare him, oh my god, to Ghoul Kings on, no. Ghoul Kings on top of Terrorgeist are just a flat no. They're spiders that I wake up to on my face. I'm like, this is a nope for me.
And the spiders are holding like all of the kitchen knives at the same time.
And they want to tell me about all my past relationships. Yeah, it's just all the notes.
Just very slowly. Like, do you remember that time? You're like, no.
Yeah, but I would describe the Verminal Warps here as a medium.
Yeah.
He's a medium. He's just just an awkward social interaction.
It's like, hey.
Yeah, with an old friend who you haven't seen for years, you don't really want to talk to. However, the Lord Arcanum has done a wound to him in that combat.
One's not going to be enough.
No.
Like we were talking earlier about his 4-up, re-rolling with an orb, 5-up, 5-up. This guy is going to take some shifting.
He is. And
if you shift him, how close are any of those models to objectives and affecting the game in any reasonable sense?
None. But I think at this stage, Tom doesn't care. He's like, you're big, I need to murder you. I think Tom would like to kill something of JJ's
that hasn't killed itself.
Sure,
that's reasonable.
Actually, that's a great question to ask from the chat. Oh no, wait, he has done an arcane bolt.
The HPA is gone.
Is the Hell Pit Abomination the only thing? We'll find out for that in a minute.
I believe it is.
I think the Hell Pit Abomination might be the only thing that Tom's actually killed of JJ's army. So we will check that. However, the Verminal Warps here, even though I did diss him, did then kill the Lord Arcanum.
Yeah, I mean, he's a massive rat with a knife. Like, if you're talking about Master Splinter, this guy is the big boy. That model
He's ready to rock.
That model is phenomenal. Like,
all the Vermin Lords are. I'm really happy they got buffs.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really happy because those models are great. It's super pumped. Alright, so no, he did also kill a Warp Lightning. So
the ballista did get that final one. It didn't blow itself up.
Yes. So the warp lightning cannon did. So he's got a warp lightning cannon and a Hellpit Abomination under his belt, not bad. And then JJ's got a warp lightning cannon and a Grey Seer under his own belt.
Do those count positively in terms of his kill points?
Oh, great!
You know, if I've killed my own warp lightning cannons,
my kill points.
Yes. I did this.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Especially with the fluff of the Skaven being, they're always infighting anyway. It's perfectly possible that a rival Warlock engineer's just put in an extra.
He murdered 5 clan rats. So he's like, look, I am God forged, ready to kick ass.
Yeah.
Here I go. And then those clan rats are like,
we don't know.
We were born yesterday.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what's going on. Someone covered me in a red t-shirt and gave me a stick. Yeah. Right, and they're bigger than me.
And then they stood behind me. It was very offensive.
Yeah. Right. So let's go find out. Because I'm excited. What's happening? We'll wait to find out prior. Let's go find out what's happening on Nikos's game.
Yeah, fantastic.
The Seraphon versus. The Shard of Light.
It's really pinging off the edge of that terrain there.
Yeah.
Maybe the Razordons will find it harder to hit.
It's actually a line of sight blocking line.
Yeah.
So as we can see, there's been some hot action and some sweet movement. We have seen that Nikos has got the priority, so he started to move. So this is going into turn 3. And as you can see, he's claimed that top right objective because he did shoot off the Doom Ball. He's still claiming the top left-hand objective.
Camo Skinks took out the Doom Ball.
Yes.
I spoke to Nikos when we took a break while Chocobati was filling us in with the other tables. That was very much his plan, but he was not confident that it would come together.
Well, he did it.
He did it.
He compounded it.
Big play.
Yeah, big play. Big loves there. So that was obviously fantastic. And then you've got some Razordons. It looks like the Razordons have teleported here, and then they've gone for the combat, which is a bold move, Cotton.
Sure.
But imagine what he's looking to do is hold up that unit for another turn. However, we clearly are into. It's 13-3 to Nikos.
Wow. No.
AD's here to push his Gorgons
into people's faces.
Into people's faces and be like, I don't know if you noticed this, but their hands are blades. Yeah.
There is no doubt about what their express purpose is here today.
These are designed for a singular purpose, which make other jobs that they have to do a little bit challenging.
How am I going to have my cornflakes in the morning? I'm not.
I'm going to chop them into my own mouth.
It's very Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah.
Really struggling.
But the skink line, and we did see earlier. Now, if you cycle back or if you watch it, there was a skink line. There was another skink line. Nikos has got 70 skinks in units of 10s. Yeah. 7 10s, and he just created these lines to stop those units there, and they've just had to butt up against one after the other. And that's if he activates one unit, the other skink line can run away. So he's been able to which is why the 7-10s is great. So if he's got this unit and AD activates here on the right hand side, this unit then runs away and falls back on the left hand side. So he can just do to quote Mr. Dan Heelan himself, a double skink flea.
Yes.
Yeah, which is an old fantasy term, and Nikos really showing that he remembers the old fantasy battle days.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the square movement trays earlier on, but that just ability to shove up the board and then fall back from it is something that's really useful. We see it with Gloomspike Gates a lot with Hand of Gort. You're able to put a unit somewhere that they need to be dealt with there, and as we're seeing over on the other table, it doesn't matter where you're dealing with the thing. It has to be near an objective, because otherwise you can lose that unit.
If we talk about AD's list, again, just to double down, he's got a Doom Ball, he's got one unit of 6 Bulgors, and he had 6 units of 3 Bulgors, and he had 3 Gorgons.
Yeah.
So his list was all charge.
All the time.
All the time. And Nikos's list is all chaff, all gun line. And as we can see, AD's hit that chaff. Then you've got the Seraphon ability to redeploy, which they've done, over into the right-hand side. And then he's put down the camo skinks to also go score points. So it's all about mobility. Just like you said, the ability to redeploy and go score points. That's what Nikos's list has done. Really interesting watching this matchup. It's really exciting to go and find out what he goes off and plays in the next game.
Yeah.
Because flying units pose a huge problem.
Yeah, they're jumping over that screen. You're not able to retreat.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So we've got that both from Idleness Eels, we've got that from Nighthawk. You've got
There's one or two Ghoul Kings on Terror Guys knocking about as well.
Ghoul Kings on Terror Guy, they fly.
Do they?
Yeah,
Right.
Vargeese, they fly.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a bunch of flying units that can go and do that job as well. So what's really interesting, in my opinion, is going to be watching those games over the course of the next. Because don't forget, we're bringing you 5 games this weekend. This is 5 rounds. I'd have to say rounds because we no longer do one game.
No.
We do rounds.
You're actually bringing them 10 games.
That's cool, right?
That is cool.
That's cool. In 2 days.
In 2 days.
Get
That's
ready.
more than one person could realistically play.
Yeah. Oh. I
So
didn't know about that.
we're bringing people more than they could have done themselves.
Agreed. Right, let's go back to. So I think. So, hold on. Let's not go back anywhere yet. Let's talk about what's happened. We've seen this Doomball go in here.
Is that a Gorgon? The Doomball was shot off.
Not the Doomball. So
previously.
sorry. The Gorgon. The Gorgon. But we'll find out all the info and give you like a full recap. Personally, I think that this Gorgon here is going to try and charge the engine, which Nikos doesn't mind giving up because the Razordons will eventually deal with him.
Yeah,
and then probably
that charge here could activate, as you were saying, that stand and shoot reaction, which is going to make a mess.
Exactly. And on the right hand side, I think Adrian is going to finally win that, but the sheer volume of points that Nikos is going to have scored is just going to mean that AD can't pull it back. Yeah. Although that herd has stampeded its way onto the bottom right-hand objective.
It's done it in a very linear fashion, and the Seraphon are there shaking their heads, raising their eyebrows and going, "Come, did Lizardmen have eyebrows? Probably not." But they're going, "We've already done the thing we need to do. We're about to teleport back into space, so you have a little fight."
Yeah, we've claimed this. And talking about claiming objectives, we've got a man in the field who's claiming the objective of your hearts, Twitch chat, Mr. Adam Chucklebutty himself, and he's going to tell us what's happened and whether or not Flesh Eater Courts are any good.
Thanks, Rob. Well, I can't necessarily confirm Flesh Eater Courts are any good because we've had, I think we've only seen one Flesh Eater Court army lose, but that was Speckles. Speckles is, we think, is the only Flesh Eater Courts player to have lost so far. Just behind me here, you've got Power versus Lee Bromley. So Power's got his Beast of Chaos, fairly hot still, right? Lee's got his Flesh Eater Courts, also ridiculously hot. We know that. They are 10-10. I think it was they were just rolled priority for turn 4, and they've just rolled priority for turn 4. They matched on the roll, and Power then takes it. So the game goes on. If it went Lee's way, Lee would then be it would just be no way Power could pull it back. So it's still looking likely it's Lee's, because Power just can't get the extras, but he could potentially hold them off. So we then move on to Table 5. This is the WS10 versus Scribes, Nick versus Miles game, Skaven mirror match. Now this is knife edge, as it should be, as every mirror match should be. It is absolute knife edge. Turn after turn, they're matching on points, and it's just anybody's. And there's no tipping point. They're just going blow for blow, and it would be, it's one of those ones I wish we had a camera on it. I wish we could bring you all of the info on every single game around here because we've got some beautiful games going on. So moving on to table. So we've got John versus Scott on table 3. John has won that as he should. He's got Stormcast Eternals. They're meant to, they just win everything. Even if they lose, they actually win because they just come back. John, he has won it. He's taken it. He was just getting a bit arsey about not being able to kill some endless spells. He doesn't get the kill points for them, so he's whinging that he can't win the tournament now. But he ain't going to anyway. Let's be honest. And he's even after that terrible deployment. So John's the guy who took Stormcast Eternals and put 4 ballista behind a line of sight blocking piece of terrain. So he completely screwed that up. Moving then on to Steve Curtis versus Martin. Steve with his Flesh Eater Courts versus Martin's Maggotkin. Steve has basically romped home with that one. He's just munched his way through. Right, Flesh Eater Courts are pretty good. If you want to invest in an army, don't do it yet because there's an FAQ coming. On to page 2, we've got Andy Hughes and Legion of Sacrament versus Wayne Skaven. Andy is basically, he's going to have that. Kill points are fairly even, but Andy has just outplayed Wayne on that. So moving on, table 26, Darling Tom, Sylvaneth, Darling Tom versus Dan the Master Bradshaw, Beast of Chaos. Dan has apparently won. I don't know how he's obviously cheated his way through. The Master has declared that he's just going to win it. Moral victory. We can all agree. Tom Fretwell wins the moral victory against the Master. The Master just getting gamey. It was just a bit, forget it. Gaz Hughes, Corn Dragon, definitely lost that game. Just getting romped all over by Paul Zeideneth. But the Corn Dragon is still up, and he's looking for a tabling of Paul. Still, I'm pretty sure it's still points-wise will definitely go to Paul, but it's very, very close to a tabling by Gaz. The Legions of Nagash mirror match, still skeletons versus skeletons, Nagash versus Nagash, just not shifting whatsoever. So I don't really know. Points-wise, they're just racking up their own territory's points, so it's not really going anywhere. Table 28, Tony Moore, Flesh Eater Courts versus Tom Bell's Iron Jaws. Guess what? Flesh Eater Courts have lost that game. They didn't lose that game. No, they won that game. Tony's plan was to go from ground up, killing the weakest units, all the way up, and he's done exactly that to a T. Even with 2 more crushes left, he killed the non-general, then he killed the general. So Tony, it's just gone absolutely perfect for him there. And Joe versus Christian, still fairly stalemate. Joe's just getting a little bit grumpy that these damn Grimghast just keep coming back. But yeah, just to recap then though, Flesh Eater Courts are completely cleaning up so far. We've just got wins all over the place by Flesh Eater Courts. And the only Flesh Eater Courts player to lose so far is Speckles. So, you know, I don't know whether we can really say anything about the army with that. But and with that, I'm actually going to hand back to just Adam for now. He's going to solo it for you for a bit, and so we're just going to cut back to the table for you.
Great. Thanks very much, Adam. I'm also Adam, and soon I'll be Adam with Rob. That was really useful to hear kind of how Flesh Eaters are doing around the room. As we've been saying all day, it's super exciting to have those new battle tomes for both Skaven and Flesh Eater Courts massively represented in this scene at Sheffield Slaughter 2019.
Even by people who shouldn't be bringing them. For instance, playtesters and employees.
You might well think that, yeah.
I do. I vehemently think that.
I think it's interesting to see them in the room, but yeah, if you've already, we're talking about JJ doing well with his Skaven on that table 1 with 6 practice games. That's amazing.
Imagine 3 months of practice.
I can't.
Yeah, that would have been the best. So, so I imagine that they're doing well because of an incredibly unfair natural advantage.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? I mean, it takes me back to Six Nations last year when you've got the new edition of the game coming out, and some people in the room have played it before and some haven't. Good.
Let's go for good. Let's see who wins this tournament, because I tell you what, I can't wait for Monday night show. Yeah, that's going to be a riot and a half. However, game by game, let's talk about it, and let's talk about this game ridiculous, because this has turned into a legendary game.
It's fantastic.
It's got all sorts of drama. On the right-hand side, so AD won the priority for turn 4.
Finally.
Right, so he won the priority. He took the turn. He's like, I'm going to charge some stuff. So he has got 3 Bulgur up here. They've
managed to fight out those remaining skinks.
They fight them out, so that's his objective. He's laughing. Yeah, that's great. Over on the right-hand side, he took his Gorgon. He's like, right, there's a unit of Camo Skinks and there's some Razordons. I'm going to be a little bit greedy, and I'm going to charge both.
Which is exactly what the Gorgon would do. So I need to kill all of these things. I've got a big arm span with knives on the end. Let's cut them down.
Let's go. Now, what you're able to do with Razordons, if you charge them, as we talked about before, on a 4+, you get to make your normal shooting attack. They do 2d6 dice each. Adam, I know you already know the result.
I do, but I want to hear it because in the telling it just becomes more epic.
4d6. So he rolled a 4+ to be able to shoot. He rolled 4d6. He rolled a 6, a 6, a 6,
and also
another 6.
What?
Into the Gorgon before he got to strike.
Ow, and that's quite high rolling too. That 9 wounds actually going through from 24 is good. That's like that's more than you're looking at. You're expecting 7 or 8, 9, like that extra thing. And the monster's going down in brackets. I don't quite know the damage table for the Gorgon, but you don't want to be taking 9 wounds before you fight.
At all. No, you really don't. And therefore, in my but he still cleared out those camo skinks, which is super important.
So if he'd just gone into the camo skinks, stayed outside of the range of the stand and shoot from the Razordons, he's taking that objective this turn.
Yes.
Because that Gorgon is going through them like a blender.
Yeah, absolutely. So what AD has been able to do in his turn is he's been able to reclaim his back right objectives. However, there was a unit of Bulgor here, and they charge into the skinks. Now, the Razordons also overwatched, so they also rolled their 4+, and now there are no Gorgons.
Ow.
Not Gorgons, sorry,
the
Bulgor.
No
Bulgor.
flank.
No Bulgor. So, the Razordons have had some extra shooting. Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. Knock, who's there? But there's loads to talk about as the weekend goes. So Gammy, me and Gammy, by the way, at the very next. I think I saw Heralds of War here as well, which is really exciting. Me and Gammy at the very next CanCon. We're wearing manlet onesies.
I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, luscious lycra singlets is the CanCon outfit of 2020.
Yeah, I mean, we're sitting here in South Yorkshire next to a radiator, so the jealousy is real.
We really are. We really are. But look, so Nikos' army there, being able to do all of that fantastic damage in AD's turn is why he's chosen those Razordons.
Yeah.
And let's be real, 40 points per Razordon, so 160 points for that unit.
That's so cheap.
It's so good. You could take Salamanders as well, but Salamanders wouldn't do that.
No, they wouldn't.
No, Salamanders
are going to really struggle to do that level of consistent damage. And it's that consistency, the redeploying. Again, we're talking about the screens retreating. What Nikos has been able to do on the right flank, shooting off the Bulgors there, because they have to complete the charge into the skinks to get into range of possibly getting to the objective. You're forcing people to take Razordons to the face, and that's really good. And
probably the best wargaming quote I've ever heard to date comes from Nathan.
Okay.
When we talked, we were late one night doing a classic brainstorm sesh.
Yeah.
And I quote this all the time on the show now, and I can't express it enough. Objectives are bait. Sometimes you write an armor list and you think, this is my bait unit. Objectives are the bait. And like you said there, he has to go for the objective, which means he has to do the thing that you want him to do.
Yeah.
Great work.
Because the chance of that actually working and him getting in is the only thing he's got to play for, but it's more likely than not going to go your way. So you're leaving it there and you're going, you could do this.
Yeah, you could do this. This could be yours. But no.
And like sitting just deep of that objective as well, making people roll the 9-inch charge, not the 7-inch charge. Just going, this is open, you can come and have this fight, I'll let you have this.
This is all you.
It could go really well for you. You could be an evocator that's going to smash everybody in the face and kill a whole unit. But you haven't, and now it's a problem.
Well, that's a great segue. Let's go look at table 1. Yeah? Excellent work there. Let's go find out. Let's leave this game to conclude and roll through. But if we're talking about the conclusions, when we go to that top table, no, we're not going to go to the top table. We're going to wait a moment.
Okay, that's all right. Well, let's continue talking about.
That's okay. He knows. What he was doing was dealing with the shard of light.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Now he did that with the technical expertise of closing the curtain.
That's pretty amazing stuff.
Because while we are the world leaders in T-Sport coverage, we are mitigated by the venue in which we're at. We're at the wonderful
Davy Sporting Club in Sheffield.
Davy Sporting Club in Sheffield. Google map it, everyone. It's worth a look. Now, also, key part about the Davy Sporting Club, we've got a T-Sports event happening right now.
We have.
Yeah, in the Davy Sporting Club.
In the Sporting Club, this is absolutely the first T-Sports event that Davy Sporting Club has seen, and it's potentially 500-year history.
I don't imagine when they carved this from the rock of Sheffield itself, they thought they would ever see an internationally viewed live stream game of War Dollies.
And yet you have to know that some subconscious part of them was always hoping for this advent.
Always hoping. As young people, building it out of the bricks of the dinosaur bones they find lying around.
And that's why the Seraphon are doing so well, ultimately. This is hallowed ground for them. They're going to capture those objectives, whether or not they're bathed in the shards of light of the beautiful Seven Hills of Sheffield or not.
We're talking about shards of light. Let's hit table 1. I'm pretty certain our man is back on the field now.
There we go.
What an angel. To show you what's happened. So I'll give you a recap where we left the game.
This looks very different now.
Very different. Over here on the left-hand side, the one evocator got murdered. He was smoten, as they say, by the clan rats. The characters, which it consisted of an Arcanum, and an Arcanum.
Lord Relictor? No. Lord
Celestin, was there with a Celestin with a Griphound.
Yep.
Were locking up that objective there. That Verminal Warps here. Nowhere near the objective.
He's a certain kind of objective.
He's their objective, right? And then the Plague Monks have gone, oh, don't you beat up that big rat.
Leave him alone.
Leave him alone. So
I know he's big, that doesn't make him a target.
The Plague Monks have only done 1 wound to the Lord Arcanum, though.
That's not enough.
No, that's nowhere near enough. But he did have the lantern, the shiny light Sigmar cast upon him, which gives him +1 save.
Don't look at me.
Yeah, don't look at me. But however, there was a Skaven engineer here with a Doom Rocket from the Carrion Empire box.
That is a fantastic miniature.
Yeah,
Whoever that is. Shiny armor man.
Huh?
Shiny armor man. Or woman. It could be the Knight Incanter.
Oh wow! It was the Knight Incanter, so he did an amazing charge. Look, this is what happens in the game. Dice sometimes tell you a story you need us to tell you out. But what happened was, big charge, from the Knight Incanter. Then he murdered the Doom Rocket engineer. You're
wow.
like, okay, amazing. He then moved over here, and he's like, right, Stormcast turn. Look, I am going to charge these clan rats, I'm going to murder them. I'm then going to go over here, and maybe on turn 5 I'm not going to win the game, but I'm going to claim this land for Sigmar.
Yeah.
However, he rolled a double 1 for the charge.
No.
But he's a character, so he spent a command point to re-roll it, so that's fine.
Right.
But he's not in combat.
So
he rolled another double 1.
No.
Because he was tired from the charge before.
Oh, the diminishing chance of that is exciting.
Yeah, he was like, oh, big charge. Oh, God, that's far. That's really tough.
That is super tough.
It's like when you made yourself a cup of tea, you've gone in another room, and you've realised you've left your biscuits where you made the tea, and you think, I'm not going back for that.
So on balance, I'm happy standing here on the corpse of this Doom Rocket.
However, the Warpseer, who is here engaged with the Lord Arcanum, who's in there, who has the shiny light on him, has caused the Lord Arcanum to heal wounds. Because he doesn't have any rend on those attacks. So the 1 wound done by the Plague Monks has now been healed. So they've beat him up a bit and gone, alright, we've helped you out, big bro. And then he's done some attacks and then he's healed and they're like, man, this isn't okay. You're not helping us.
So he's just dancing around. He's in a world of fear now though. How many rats are dancing about him? They can't hurt him, but he's just completely surrounded. There's no escape.
There's no escape.
There's no escape.
There's no escape.
He's like, please kill me. I want to be reforged now. This is a nightmare. I want to wake up somewhere else with a diminished memory of this event.
Yeah, this sucked. Yeah, this entire experience sucked. Yeah. I suppose getting reforged, realistically, is the Stormcast equivalent of a big night out where you just want to forget your day. Yeah.
No, I definitely got back before 3 in the morning. Yeah. No, I've been here all along.
You're the last
regrowing myself in this box.
You're the last 2 sequitors left. You look at the horde of 30 plague bearers, bloodletters, and you think,
I'll have you.
Just a quick one at those bloodletters. Just a quick one.
Yeah. And they never talked about it again.
Ever. And it was all done. So this is actually, I think we've heard this is the last dice roll of this game. I think. We'll double check. Interestingly and impactfully, Stormcast, Tom won this turn's priority roll, which is the first one he's won.
Yeah. And that was huge early game, particularly with that continuing pumping out of mortal wounds from the conduits.
Yeah, so he's had the option, he's had the double turn potential since turn 1, because JJ went first.
Yeah, and it's just not come up until the points on the board, it's past that point.
Yeah.
Somebody's just been removed from in there.
The Lord Arcanum is dead from the Plague Monks in JJ's turn. It was from Arcane Bolt. It was from Magic. Yet again, another mortal wound doing the damage. Constant mortal wounds.
Yeah, I think Arcane Bolt really has that place now. It's not something people are pushing to try and dispel in the way that it was in AOS 1, where it was D3 mortal wounds every time. How often are you leaving characters on 1 wound and you just need that to get you out? And the ability to do that in the hero phase, then move and act as normal, is a really huge thing to look out for. I've certainly fallen foul to it with dragons in the past, where you've got 1 wound left and you're like, it's going to be fine, I'll kill this thing I'm fighting, and then the Arcane Bolt just goes, no, just lie down.
None of that from you, young man.
Stop it.
Yeah, it's the worst. I agree with you, absolutely. So we can look. Let's not beat around the bush, because the Twitch chat want constant information and fun.
Yeah.
And so they should.
Yeah.
So they should demand.
It's a fun place to be.
They should demand high quality coverage, and therefore we're calling this game for JJ because it is an unassailable lead, which is exciting.
Yeah.
So let's go over to table 2. So well done, JJ. That's excellent work. Skaven's first outing.
On the stream, big win.
Terrifying damage.
6 practice games since the release of the book.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah, post the book.
Yeah.
Not months before the book.
After it's been bought in a shop.
Yeah. Which would you prefer, tactically? Six games after the book's release, or months of knowledge before the release and then play it?
I don't know. I might get confused by the other versions of the rules I'd previously written.
Anyway, back to this game. Now, you've seen Warherds, which is consisting of 3 Gorgons, a ton of Bulgor, and a Doomball, up against 70 Skinks, 12 Razordons, 15 Chameleon Skinks in 3/5s. There's an Engine of the Gods right there under Nikos's gorgeous head. There's a Slan, yet to be named, potentially Slanuel Jackson, there as well, and there's a Skink Star Priest. Now, on the right-hand side, as you can see, the Gorgon has died. He's been murdered.
This was a likely outcome, was it not?
Yeah, absolutely. So he's been murdered and he's dead. Over here on the left-hand side, as you can see, the Razordons have done their final murder. So that is it.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's there winking at us, calling down the Seraphon spaceship to take them all home.
Yeah, they're like, it's the homing beacon. They're like, look.
Yeah, they got those 2 sticks. They're waving them. There's a bit of a dance going on.
This was easy. We've had a great time. This was no stress of drama here. So yeah, pretty certain. I'm pretty certain that we can call this a win. I think realistically, also it is a win.
It's a win.
It's a win for Seraphon. So there we go. Congratulations. We don't need to see the formulation of the game. We know
we don't
because of points. So well done, Nikos winning. So you're going to get to follow Nikos for the entire weekend. But so you'll see his game every game thanks to a Twitter poll that we ran yesterday. But we're going to get our final on-table coverage from Mr. Adam Chuckabutty in a minute or so.
Yep.
And then that'll take us out. That'll take us out for the day. Join us again for the next game, obviously.
Yeah, and that's starting after lunch.
Yeah, that is starting 12:45 UK time, if you guys are interested. Now, obviously, it could be up or down because events tend to run around. But yeah, we saw an amazing win for Skaven.
Yeah.
Just devastating.
An amazing game to watch as well. I mean, the more wounds, as you said, you've said that more times than you've said it potentially in the last year. It had everything. Heroic Evocators not really changing anything, but still going, I'm here, I'm going to kill some rats. That's my job.
And then we've seen Nikos' game. We're really got to ask ourselves, are we going to see any armies? Attrition, Nikos' objective scoring, kind of like unit halting, shooting army with high mobility. I'm really interested to see that. Follow it for the rest. Adam, you've been amazing. Thanks for helping me with the coverage.
You've been amazing too, Rob. It's been great fun.
Yeah, you've been great. So really enjoyed that. And now to Adam, find out what's happened with the rest of the event. And then we'll see you guys at the next game.
Thanks, boys. I tell you what is amazing. Flesh Eater Courts. Once again, I don't think we've got a single loss with the exception of the aforementioned Speckles. We've just had, over my shoulder, we've just had Lee Bromley, who was facing off against Parr with his Beast of Chaos, and Lee with his Flesh Eater Courts, just taking that victory. It was really, really close, but it's just tipped his way. Table 5, we've got Miles versus Nick. This is the Scribes versus... I mean, I don't know, I'm not favouring either side, but maybe Scribes have won. Miles has just taken it, so that's a fantastic win for his club, for our club. Moving on, John Green versus Scott. John took that even after the bad deployment earlier on. Steve Curtis with Flesh Eater Courts versus Martin Clark. Guess what? Flesh Eater Courts have won that as well. So Steve completely steamrolled the Maggotkin, and now Maggotkin, we know, a really resilient and solid army, just got absolutely flattened. Loads of other games, I mean, a lot of the games I've been reporting, they have all finished now. So moving on to page 2. We've got a lot more games finishing off. So we've been bringing you the Legions of Nagash mirror match, Andy versus Alan, and it's just toe to toe, just head to head, the whole thing, skeleton versus skeleton, some Grimghast versus Grimghast. It's just an absolute just kind of quagmire of dead guys right in the middle of the board, and it's not really going either one's way. It's going to completely come down to kill points. Neither one is going to get a major victory because they just can't physically get there. So it's a bit of a shame. It's a bit of a boring way to see out a game, and they both look a bit drawn, so it's a bit of a shame. Gaz Hughes, Corn Dragon, he has tabled now. He's put the last bites into Paul's Ideneth team. He's served up his sushi. He's chowed down. He's asked for the bill. He's on his way out. Unfortunately, the bill was massive, so he did actually lose the game, which is a bit of a shame. And that is all I have for you now. That is everything. So we're going to be back at 12:45 with the next game. So after a bit of lunch, go and have a bite to eat, and we'll see you later on.